I've had to actually build a real business, learn the skill sets of being a CEO. It's a journey. And so not getting ahead of your depth of trying to even be an expert. You don't have to be an expert. You can just be a reporter, and you can learn from others and monetize in the journey. And then eventually maybe you hone in your expertise and start building your own stuff. So really, before you ever build, I think, your own product, the opportunity is to promote somebody else's, or to do something on Amazon or somewhere else.
What you see is fruit of the little things, the fruit of the day in and day out of the grind. And I think one of the greatest brand builders is consistency. When people think about you, do they attribute a characteristic to being consistent? It's kind of one of the biggest characteristics that we can actually get from God, being God's the same yesterday, today, and forever, is actually consistency. It's probably the best, compliment that you can ever get.
We were actually talking about this before the show, but you were like, hey, the thing that I admire about you is you just literally don't care. You just will try anything. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but I've never thought of it that way. I've just always been like, let's test, let's see what works. And I don't know, you said it better than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's two types of people in business, and there's the type of person that wants it all figured out before they move. And then there's the person that says, let's figure it out as we move. Mm-hmm. And I am a perfectionist. I'm a creative. I want things to look good before anybody sees it. And it's prevented me to even do things that were even in my heart because I want it to look and sound and be great. And then seeing somebody, you just plowing through and figuring it out. And you actually get access as being somebody who says, let's step out and then figure it out, step out and find out. You get access to the mistakes even quicker because I'm not exempt from the mistakes to be made.
You're still going to make them.
I'm still going to make them. And so it benefits one who cares less about, I think there's a level of, you don't care much about what people think because you know what you're doing and what it's for and the overall good of it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of selfish nature that I still have in regards to wanting things to be so perfect. And so, yeah, I mean, in that, like watching you move is inspiring because of that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you credit for something you said that was just a good phrase. You said, step out to figure it out. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Step out to figure out?
Pastor Jensen Franklin would say it, step out, then find out.
Step out to find out.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's not your saying.
No.
Okay.
And I would even say it's not his because in the Bible, Jesus asked Peter to walk on water. Peter didn't know that the water was going to hold him up.
Yeah. I was actually using this analogy the other day. I don't want to compare myself to Peter, but it was like, you have people in the Bible who are the people that you were just talking about, like perfectionists and all these things, right? You have doubting Thomas. You have these guys who are like, show me a sign, then I'll do it, right? And so people, that's like how they live their life, whether they're, believers or not. They're like, oh, well, once like everything lines up perfectly, the stars align, and like I get some just divine intervention, then I will do the thing. Yeah. And then there are people like Peter, for those who don't know in the story, like this dude did not think. He was just like, all right, let's go do it.
Right.
I'm going to cut this dude's ear off. I'm going to walk on water and just, sink. I'm going to run to all this stuff. And he just does it. And then he like figures out what happens later. And by result, Peter ended up failing a lot. Like he
100.
looked like an idiot a lot.
But the church was built on Peter.
Yeah, but he ended up being the leader of everyone because somebody had to be bold,
right,
and take those mistakes.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, if you operate like that, if all you're doing is looking for your next sign, then you'll realize that it'll never be enough, right? And I think this in the context of like a lot of people who come to me and ask my advice for marriage, like when do I know I'm supposed to marry this person? Well, it's like I don't know if you'll ever fully know.
Yeah,
just if you could know enough, but the thing is even in professionalism in your career, we have this idea of what, accolade or, arrival looks like. And we just find out that you actually never arrive.
Yeah.
There's always more to it.
Yeah.
Once you hit that financial number that was your goal, it's like, what's the next goal,
Yeah.
And so
nobody who hits goals is like ever satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this thing of like, the goal is to complete the goal and get a new goal.
Yeah.
That's how goal setting works. There's no like, I hit the goal, now goals are no longer a thing.
Yep. Yeah. And, I would say it like this, that a lot of the times the goal isn't the goal, but reaching is the goal.
Yeah. The journey.
Yeah, not reaching the goal. Yeah. There's a million ways you could say that it's all about the journey and not the destination.
Yeah. Dude, how many
Yeah.
more sayings do you have?
I think I just got them locked up. I've read enough books.
I have no sayings. Like, I need to really start trademarking sayings so we can have them.
Dude, you need your isms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah.
One of the only ones I have is that purpose has to be greater than the cost. So like purpose, greater sign, cost. And it's like the whole thing of that is like, there's a cost to doing anything, right? You want to build wealth, there's a cost. You want to be a great dad, there's a cost. Great husband, believer, build your career. There's always a cost to it. And at the end of the day, you got to understand what that cost actually is. Most people don't. They don't understand the cost.
Yeah.
Jesus said, count the cost.
Right.
And he wasn't saying that like he tried to prep everyone like, hey, this is the cost. The world's going to hate you. You're going to go through all these things, but it's worth it.
Yep.
The purpose is worth it. And so what I tell people is when they're like, hey, I want to be a millionaire. I want to do this. I want to have 20 properties. I'm like, why? And it's not to be like antagonizing them. It's just like, why? Mm-hmm. And if you don't tell me a good reason why, I know you will not achieve it.
Yep.
Because there's no driving factor that will push you through all of the failure, all of the hard times.
So good.
All of the things. So
yeah,
I have one.
One of the promises that we don't love from Jesus is that you will face you will have trouble in this world, and that's a promise.
Yeah.
You want to hold on to a promise, hold on to that.
Yeah.
But knowing that it does set you up to be less disappointed for when those times come or when those costs need to be paid.
You know what? Like, one of the problems is that people in general try to avoid pain, right? Mm-hmm. So we try to avoid pain in business, in life, and we don't want to have difficult conversations with people, whether it's our spouse or coworkers or employees. Like, we just want to avoid confrontation and pain. And at no point, right, has the Bible said, yeah, that's the thing to do. Like,
yeah,
this is a pain-free world. There's never going to be strife. And, for me, I just know like pain means progress. We can make that a saying too.
Yes, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's got alliteration on there.
I just made that up. That's the first time I ever said that. But it truly does. Like, you work out, it's painful. Mm-hmm. That's how you get progress. You practice, it's draining. It's how you make progress. Like having difficult conversations with people leads to big progress. Right. Like, when you ignore like issues, nothing's happening.
Yeah. No, a lot of the times resistance is the sign to just keep moving forward, which the natural thing to do is wanting to stop and quit.
Yeah.
But, being sore after a workout, it tells me that it worked.
Yeah.
And it's just a way to think as you approach, many things in life is pain is progress.
Let's talk about this, right? I mean, you've been doing content for a while. You started with Think Media, just teaching basics of all content creation with cameras and equipment and, then like the fundamentals of creating content. I remember one of the first videos I ever saw from you was how to create a thumbnail on IG stories. I don't know if you remember that video. Yeah. Like I was like, oh, he's like just using the font. He's like saving a picture and like, there's a thumbnail. I was like, that's easy. I was like, this guy gets it. And that's what I'm looking for in my life. Mm-hmm. Like the easy way that gets the job done. And, you've given all these tips for anybody who, has no budget at all. You're like, hey, here, this phone can give you everything.
Yeah.
You could film, you can make your thumbnail on it. You could post through it. You don't need anything fancy, right? If you want to get started. And then you say, hey, if you do have capital and you want to invest, here are some things you can do. So, people who watch this are usually entrepreneurs and business people. Like, what's the first thing they need to know about content, you think?
I think it starts with a decision to just start doing it. And that has to come from a deeper place, like you were talking about, like a why.
Purpose.
Because everyone gets their own definition of success. And if you could self-identify that success looks like me stepping into this, because the reality is if you don't realize me making content for my business, it's either gonna work or it's gonna work, then you're gonna give up as soon as you try because I hate the way I look, I hate the way I sound, it doesn't look as good as theirs. But if you realize that this is a means to future proofing your business, and that this is a form of success. You know, like I said, the process, that me stepping into this process. I was talking with a OG realtor here in Vegas who does investing. He's been really doing real estate, and he's built a huge foundation of clientele all through cold calling and door knocking. And he was telling me, he's like, I've built that foundation over time, and now it's fed into itself because people work with me a second, a third, a fourth time. At this point, I don't have to make videos. He's like, but I see how like we're in a time where making videos is doing the cold calls. He's like, I would spend 3 hours a day, every day, Monday through Saturday, doing cold calls. And now I'm realizing, like, rather than doing that, should just invest that time in making videos, because video is a great multiplier of your time. You become omnipresent when you create a video. You can't be omnipresent with a phone call.
Yep.
And so that's where I think it should stem from. It needs to come from a place of like, okay, I'm deciding that this is what I'm going to do. And then just know that you're going to be in that season of doing for a while, which you did. Like I was talking earlier, like you did it all. Like I saw your house tour.
Yeah.
I saw you interview your wife.
Yeah.
Your wife learned how to edit on Premiere Pro.
Probably from you.
Yeah, you were like, check out this house or this couch flipping business. Like it was all over the place, but you were just committed to doing it. And like we said, step out, find out. You started figuring it out. Like, people are resonating with this type of content. Oh wow, like this is actually working. They're turning into customers. And so, I would say that would just be the first place. That has nothing to do with like, owning a camera. That has nothing to do with like knowing how to do anything other than the fact that just have this decision that is made to know that this for my business is key.
Hey, if you're looking to grow your real estate investing business, whether you're just getting started trying to get your first deal or you're trying to scale and get to the next level, you need to join us at Wealthy Investor. We've got events every single quarter that are absolutely crazy. We've got online coaching programs where we have Zoom calls, a community every single week. We give you everything you need to know to start your business, scripts, processes, SOPs, all of it. It's for you so that you can dominate. So if you want to learn more about how to join our community and be mentored by me and some of our top coaches and be around other students who are absolutely crushing it, go to wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a free call with my team. Once again, wealthyinvestor.com, apply for a call today.
Yeah. I want to talk about the thing you mentioned with cold calling, because I think that's so applicable. And I used to say it early on, but I forgot because, I don't get a lot of guests that we talk just purely on content. So, we'll make this podcast like a content masterclass.
Yeah.
So here's the thing for the business people and entrepreneurs. I love that you said, first decision you got to make is like the content's worth it. Like you got to decide in your mind that it's worth it. Now, for anybody who's got a business, right? You're doing whatever you're doing right now to generate leads, and build your brand for your business, right? You're either spending marketing dollars, you're door knocking, you're cold calling, you're doing something to get your customers, right? And it might even just be word of mouth, and you're trying to just do, like, that's not a good way to build a business by itself, right? But that is an element to it. But I always told people, I was like, well, okay, for the realtor, for example, one of the things is like people say, go cold call for 3 hours a day, go hold open houses, go door knock and all this stuff. And it's like, yes, that can make you money. But here's the thing. There are things that basically have like a one-time effect, and then there are things that have lifetime effect. And so, or long-term, let's just call it. So a cold call is a one-time effect. I'm a cold call all day and, I get a deal from it. It's pretty much done. You might get a referral, but for the most part, it's done. Nobody knows who you are still, right? Like it's all done in the shadows. Same thing with door knocking, same thing with open houses. But on the other hand, you do social media, you could still get the same result. You can still be basically cold calling and door knocking. Your cold calls just happen to now be the people who view your video.
Right.
And they're either going to say yes or no based on what you put out in that video. And if you have a good call to action to actually make them convert.
Yeah.
But the only difference is with that video, it's infinitely scalable. At the end of the day, if it's really good, YouTube or whoever else is going to push it, and now it's going to get seen by more people.
Right.
If it's good, you can also run ad dollars behind it. Now it can get seen by even more people, And also, at the end of the day, if you meet somebody new and you want them to know who you are and you want credibility, you can send them the video and say, hey, this is a house we recently sold. This is a little bit about me. Check it out. Like, you know, you want to learn more about me, go on my social media right here and like, you know, at your own free time and get to know me.
It hacks time.
Yeah.
You know, because you got to do the thing in the middle of the day. If you're in Las Vegas, it's in
like
the
I don't meet
summer.
people for coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was the only way to do it.
Right.
Whereas now it's like, well, why would I go meet people for coffee? Like, why don't I just DM them, build a relationship through the DMs? And now I'm building relationships with 100 people.
Yeah.
And they're now also seeing me daily, not just for coffee. Like, so they know what I got going on.
Yeah. And I think that's such an underrated thing that most people aren't seeing because we can't see your DMs. But like, there's something powerful about engagement that's unseen.
Yeah.
You know, you might put out videos and people get discouraged because it's like, oh, nobody's commenting or liking. But if people see it, they're seeing it. Something's happening. You can't remove that out of my brain. I saw Ryan's video on this house tour, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I'm ready, I'm probably going to DM him. I probably never, you know, and guys, generally speaking, don't actually comment. Girls comment a lot more than guys.
Yep.
There's probably science to that.
Yeah.
Because girls talk more than guys do.
Yep.
But a lot of those connections happen unseen. And so much judgment comes, or even observation comes from outside, just seeing like face value stuff, like what's commenting, who's commenting, how many likes, when reality, somebody could just literally be watching your content, never engaged, and then they just hit you a DM. Nobody's going to know that they did that.
Yep.
And you mentioned about being visible. You know, there's this saying, it's visibility beats ability. It's the world we live in. If you are really good at what you do and nobody knows about it, my question is, are you really good at what you do?
Right.
You know, and obviously that pendulum could swing the other way where, you know, we have fakes that putting out content and everyone's a coach and a thought leader.
Yeah.
But let the internet decide, let the community decide on that. But there are so many people that are really good at what they do and they have so much credibility, and just turning on a camera could do so much for them.
You know what's interesting? Like, there is this narrative of like, there's a lot of fakes and all this stuff, but I actually don't know that that's the case. You know, I think that used to be what the internet was, because back in the day, you know, you had all these digital marketers, and so they're running all these ads, and they're the only ones who really understood it. You know, people being content creators weren't really a thing, and so there's all this, you know, it was just tough. Today, in this climate, I know for a fact, you know, a lot of those digital marketers are out of the game because they could not compete, because now there's guys like me and you and, you know, legitimate guys making real good content that people want to watch. It's not an ad. And, you know, it's like, how do you compete?
Yeah.
If I'm selling the same product and I'm putting out really good content, you are not going to compete.
Yeah. No, and that's where, like, in any business, let the market decide.
Yeah.
The market will decide. People can feel that. People can feel like, oh, they care about this. This is what they're about. This is what they think about.
Yeah.
And that resonates when people watch, you know, a podcast or even just a 20-second clip.
Yeah.
There's something to that for sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there are always going to be people scamming on the internet or off the internet. Like, that's the world. But this whole idea of like the fake guru and stuff, that, in my opinion, that used to be a thing. I just don't really see it anymore. I think it's this fake thing in people's minds.
The beauty of social media and online content is that it rewards the uniqueness of the creator.
Yeah.
So if you are starting out from if you are teaching level 2 and 1 and you're a level 3, and then there's somebody that's level 10, they're teaching 9 and 8 or whatever, you know, there's room for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. It's funny because I was just literally in Grant Cardone's office yesterday, filming with him, and it's like, you know,
What a flex of a sentence, but it's okay. Keep going.
Yeah, there we go.
Breeze through it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just telling you my life.
No, 100.
And this is what this is
Shot with Forbes 2 weeks ago. It's all good. Or whatever. Documentary for Netflix. Let's get it.
We did do that. Yeah. So I'm going to Cabo next week, but nonetheless, but that's part of like documenting your life, right? Yeah. And it's like, you cannot fake that. It's that's how you build credibility, right? Doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Not by talking about cool stuff, but by doing good stuff. But anyways, so with Grant, everybody is always, not everybody, but like, there are internet people who hate him, right? They're just like, this guy's a scam. He's doing this, he's doing that. And it's like, that's like everyone's version of a fake guru today. It's like, I don't know, dude. I was just in his office. There was like 150 people working there. I literally saw a building that said 10X that was a giant high rise, like on a main street. People were there, like living in it, and it's like, looks pretty real to me.
Legit question.
Okay.
There's no judgment in it.
Okay.
What about Grant resonates with you?
What resonates? Man, dude, I try to take bits and pieces from everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't fully agree with everybody. I don't fully disagree with, like, I just take what's applicable to me. So when I look at a guy like Grant, I look at a guy who's had longevity. I mean, the dude's been doing it for a really long time. I look at a guy who's, you know, he's getting older now. I mean, he's in his 60s and he still is hustling like a 30-year-old. Like, it just, he's not tired at all. I look at a guy who's, you know, usually ahead of trends and curves and things that are happening. You know, he's not reactive. He's like proactive. And then I look at, like, we have a lot of similarities. I mean, he's in real estate. I'm in real estate. We're both on social. We both got lots of businesses. You know, if I look at my career, I look at it, I'm like, all right, he's a guy who's most similar to me, at least in the business side of things.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, it's been cool to see that evolve, you know, and that relationship, you know, it's really cool.
Well, speaking of that, so, you know, to go back to like content creation, you know, first thing is make the decision. Okay. I'll answer what I think is part 2. And this is what Grant told me, is that I think the next thing is, once you decide, you now have to commit to being consistent. And, you know, on Grant's show, he was like, you know, here's how I came about you. You know, I'm on my Instagram feed and, you know, I see this guy talking about stuff. He's got different color hair and, you know, whatever else. And I'm like, so by the way, the hair works. Okay.
Just so everybody knows.
Just so everybody knows, I'm going to dye it again. But nonetheless, he goes, and I thought it was good. I was like, all right, this guy, he's got good stuff to say. Cool. He's like, and then I saw you again. Then I saw you again. And then he's like, I kept seeing you. He's like, and then I knew you were committed. Like, I knew you were serious about this. And like, I respect that. He's like, because I there's lots of people who just come and go. And he's like, obviously that's what's got you to this point. You've stayed consistent for years, like, you know, and you're going to continue to do that. And for me, it wasn't even like a question of whether or not I was going to be consistent.
Right.
You know, like, I came from playing pro baseball where it's like, I don't have the luxury of just not working out for 2 weeks. You know,
Right.
I don't have the luxury of just going on bingers and not eating right and all this stuff. All the most like consistent baseball players are the ones who just have the same routine day in and day out. It's boring, it's monotonous, it's hard, but that's what success looks like. And then I saw business people, you know, there'd be business people, they got all these highs, oh, the market's good, freaking this, and then they have lows.
Yeah.
And there's no consistency. It's always like this. And then I just watched my business career. It was just always like, I'm going to do the same things day in and day out. I'm going to film my content. I'm going to get increment better every day at hiring, at marketing. There was no like massive leap for me. It's just like, dude, if you get 1% better every day, it just starts going.
It's consistency. If it's just because it's not sexy, it's hard to be received, and it's the long game. You know, what you see is fruit of the little things, the fruit of the day in and day out of the grind. And I think one of the greatest brand builders is consistency. When people think about you, do they attribute a characteristic to being consistent? It's kind of one of the biggest characteristics that we can actually get from God, being God's the same yesterday, today, and forever, is actually consistency. It's probably the best, you know, compliment that you can ever get. Is hey man, you're consistent. You do what you say what you do. I know it's funny because we congratulate people who start something. We love doing that.
Yeah.
And then when somebody ends a thing, we congratulate it. But nobody's saying, hey man, I just realized that you've just been locked in, bro. It's funny. It doesn't get celebrated. And so therefore we don't reward consistency often, but it's definitely one of a characteristic that anyone would need in life to succeed.
100%. So I think that's like the biggest thing. Once you commit, all right, like build a plan that you know you can keep consistent. So like when I first started, I remember I go, hey, I'm going to make 2 YouTube videos a week. That's what I can commit to and be consistent with my time. I'm going to do 2 YouTubes, 1 TikTok. And so I did that for like a month. I was like, all right, how's this going? You know, I'm getting the hang of it. I'm getting better. Like the results are looking pretty good. I go, all right, let's step up.
But it was good that you got feedback because you were posting.
Yeah.
So because you committed to consistency, it actually rewarded you with feedback.
Yeah, and that's the
which
thing.
is
I always tell people this too. When it comes to content, it's always quantity over quality. Like, you cannot get quality without producing quantity.
Yeah.
You need reps.
Yes.
And so I knew that. I was like, all right, if I put out this much content over time, I'm not saying this is as much as I'm gonna put out forever, but I do need to put out this much to understand and get feedback, get better, whatever. So I do that for like a month or two, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty locked in now. I can go to 3. So I go to 3 YouTube videos. And then I'm like, all right, I'm doing this pretty good. I'm getting the hang of it. Let's go 4. Let's go 5. Eventually I went 1 per day.
Yeah.
I was like, let's try it. Then I went to 2 TikToks per day. I'm like, let's just push the envelope and see, right? And then, you realize, okay, 7 YouTube videos is too much for me. Which is ironic because we still do like 7 right now.
Yeah,
but
it's just a smarter workflow.
Right. The team can do that, but me personally filming 7 new videos every week, not going to happen.
Yep.
Right. So, I tested everything, and I committed to new consistency levels as I got stronger, as I got better, as I got more resources. And then I tested and I said, dude, did I get any extra output by all this extra input? No. All right, well, why are we doing this? I don't need to keep doing this then. Let's scale back and try it, this way now.
Yep.
So then I try, hey, let's try 3 a week, but like high quality. So we tried that for a few months. Then I'm like, let's try just podcast. Let's try vlogs. I'm always willing to try and adapt. And I mean, the thing with business and social media is it's moving so quickly that you think you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's the next thing.
And I think that is just a truth that you can hang on to when it comes to marketing your business is everything is beta.
Yeah.
Like
you're always in beta.
It is a matter of fact, or there is a key to, yes, we are going to commit to always testing, always trying, but just be okay. Like, we're all trying to figure it out. That's what's funny is like, even as someone who like teaches this stuff, it's hard to just make definitive things. And so when people say, how many uploads should I be doing this week? I'm like, well, what's your life look like? Like, what can you commit to? And that's what you said. You determine your level of consistency, because for some it could be 5, for some it's 1 a month, and that's okay. Yeah. But just stick to it.
I don't think that's okay, but
yeah, I mean,
you're just not going to have success with 1 a month. I mean, I'm just being real.
I'm just trying to be encouraging.
I'm not. I'm trying because look, it goes back to purpose has to exceed the cost. So like, if you do 1 a month, you literally will have no success. I would rather you just not do anything personally. So like, let's be realistic with, hey, okay, what can I commit to? And then maybe I say 1 video a week. I would personally say, okay, you want to do 1 podcast, 1 video. You can totally do well doing that, right? And then I'll say, how many TikToks and shorts you want to do? I don't know, a couple a week. I'll be like, okay, so what's the metric we're going to hit here? Okay, you're going to do 3 short form videos a week and 1 long form. Cool. Don't miss a week.
Yep.
Literally, you better do it every week. And make sure you commit like on a day at which those are going to be posted in a time. Because what will happen is you're like, okay, I'll post 1 a week. I don't know what day it's going to be and whatever. Whenever it gets done, it gets done. It's like, no. Every Wednesday at 2:00, I post.
Yep.
And then you're going to build your
That's really good.
around.
Yeah, that's really good insight, because if you just put that on paper and you make that the goal, then you weed out whatever's in the way.
Yep.
And for some people, they feel like it needs to be edited. Well, if the goal is to just get an upload, what are some ways you can can you remove editing altogether? Can it just be shot? Just get it up there, get the feedback. You know? I have a friend, she used to work at Think Media, Heather Torres.
Yep.
And I remember before she started making videos, she took a season to just post on Snapchat for 30 days in a row. And it was something that just, she needed to see herself on camera and see what she was like. And I don't like my voice, and get over it for that season. But that's really good. That's really good insight to just lock in 1 upload a week.
Yeah.
3 short form.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't say that because it's just some random number. I think that is the minimum. Mm-hmm. Like if you were to ask us what we teach at Wealthy Creator and what, so like Wealthy Creator, for those who don't know, is our coaching program for entrepreneurs on social media. So like, we're really all about like short form and podcast. I think those are the 2 verticals to focus on. And if you were to ask me what's the minimum schedule an entrepreneur should like pursue, I'd say at least 3 short form and one podcast if possible. Or like at Pineda Media, one thing we do is just one short form daily. And so people are like, oh, well, that's a lot of work. But it's like, nah, not really. I mean, with our team, right? Like we'll literally film with you on the short form and we'll post it for you. We'll do everything for you. And it's like 3 hours a month of work on your, like everyone can commit to 3 hours. Like, come on, dude.
No,
now,
100.
now that like they're combined in our offerings, because like it's cool that we're going to do it all for you at Pineda Media, but you also still need to learn and build the foundation. You got to always be a student of the game.
Right.
Right. Like it's just never, it's not like taxes where, you know, at TrueBooks, we'll just do your taxes for you and it's done. You don't need to learn taxes. It's nice to like know taxes, but at the end of the day, you don't need to learn how to file them and all that stuff. Content, if you're actually going to be the one filming, you need to learn how to think the right way while you're doing it.
And identifying as a student, when you self-identify as a learner, a student, a disciple, you begin to see how things are done more than what you're watching, you know, like, or how what you're watching is not as important as how it's being delivered. And it just helps. It helps you grow, because now you're a bit more cognizant. Oh, I noticed that they switched this up. Like there's just those nuances that you get over time. But that's really empowering. And what's cool about the podcast route is that you can strategically get those short form, clips from the podcast.
100%. Yeah. Right. Like if you were to film one podcast for an hour, I mean, we can go get you 3-4 clips out of it, right? There's your 3 for the week.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And Pineda Media will do it all for you. PinedaMedia.com. But, you know, like at the end of the day, I like podcasts because it gives people a chance to really know you. And in the business space, right? Like, you know, first off, we go back to purpose has to exceed cost. What's the purpose of creating content? I mean, look, at the end of the day, for most people, it's going to be some monetary thing. You're like, hey, this is going to be good for my business. This is going to be good for that. And then obviously too, right along there, if you can help people with your content and make an impact, amazing, right? So how do you go about defining like what success looks like and everything else? Well, it's like, for me, I knew going into creating content, I was like, you know what? My goal initially is to be the most known house flipper on social media. If I can do that, I know good things are going to come.
It's really good.
Wherever. And so that was it. I was like, I'm completely focused on just owning this niche, at least to start out. I'm not worried about all these other things I got going on. Let's just own this. What do you think about that?
I definitely think, the word niche is obviously in our industry and even our context is kind of, every time somebody hears it, they're like, it's because we equate niche to limiting. Like, I'm gonna limit myself, but a word that we're starting to replace with niche is the word focus. That's your focus.
Yeah.
And if you can trace back anybody who is well known on an influential standpoint on social media, on YouTube, they all came from a focus. They all had a focus. It was fitness. It was, personal development. It was real estate. But and then once you get to a certain place where you build that foundation, then you can kind of expand.
Yeah.
And do other things, because that foundation is so big. Even though you were focused, there's so many types of individuals because you're the guy for X.
Yeah.
And then that's where you could spin off. And in that pool of people, there's probably someone that would resonate to do media and to invest in content, even though content wasn't the thing.
Yeah.
But that is the trajectory. That's a pattern that I've seen time and time again from people we deem OGs now, or people who've been doing it a long time. You can always trace it back to a focus.
Yeah. That's for me the same. Do I do that much house flipping content anymore? No.
Yeah.
We're talking about content creation now. The podcast, I'll bring, real estate investors on and stuff, but by no means is this like a house flipping channel or show. Now, I'm still a beast house flipper, just so for anyone who doesn't think that somehow I forgot. Brian DeVilla actually reminded me this of yesterday. He's like, bro, your house flipping company does $300,000-$400,000 a month and you don't even talk about it.
It's wild.
And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, maybe I take it for granted just because I've had it. It's boring. Yeah. It's just consistent. It's been that way for a while. And, it's like I've always got some shiny new thing that I'm talking about that's super exciting to me.
Right.
And then like I fall guilty of
That's
that
really
whole thing.
good though. I mean,
Yeah.
because you say that, I'm like, dang, 300-400, that's pretty tight, dude. I have to think about it. When's the last time you held a meeting to get that? You know, it's just happening. You
It
know,
just
you
happens.
Put things in place. Dude, it speaks to your leadership, man. You're a great leader.
Mm.
You know, you're a great leader, you're a great communicator, and people want to follow you. And that's not just on the social media standpoint of things. It is on a human. I want to be connected. I want to know you. I want to be in the room. I want to work for you. That is something.
How do you think somebody develops that?
You know, I mean, I would say the first cop-out answer is I think it comes with a level of care, a humility. You know, like you don't have to build and hire all these people. You could, but there's a level of humility that you demonstrate to allow people access to you and in your world. And you know, your Bible, another consistent thing, your Bible study you've done before Ryan Pineda was Ryan Pineda, you know, like you were just locked in, and that's grown to other things. I think it just comes from a place that you just care, man. Like, there's a scripture where Jesus says, you know, or it says Jesus looked into the multitudes and compassion filled his heart. And something I've learned is that compassion has no preference. You know, a lot of the times though, we can attribute a certain people group or a certain individual where we can like not share that compassion. But the reality is the type of compassion I think that God gives is one that no matter who you are, you know, I'm here to help and serve you.
Yeah.
And so the Bible says if you want to be the greatest, you better be the best servant. Be the greatest servant, and I'll make you the greatest.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Those who will be first must be last.
Yeah. It's kingdom paradigms. It makes no sense. It's backwards.
Yeah. You want to, so that is always my sort of my cop-out answer too. People are like, okay, you know, how do you become a good leader? Like, what book should I read? I was like, the Bible. And they're like,
It's a great leadership book.
well, yeah. And they're like, okay, but like, what else? And I'm like, they're like, what are some of the leadership books you've read? I go, I've literally never read one. I haven't.
That's crazy.
You were talking about like John Maxwell before, and I didn't say it back there, but I was like, you know, this would be kind of like embarrassing to say because I always reference him sometimes, but I've never read one of his books. And I've read a lot of books. I don't know. I personally have never felt the need to read leadership books because like I just follow what the Bible tells me. I'm like, yo, if I'm just a servant, if I love people, if I try to act with integrity, if I'm bold, people are going to respond to that. Like, what else is there to do? I don't need to like learn like, okay, this is how I have to have a meeting with this guy.
Yeah.
And these are the things that need to happen like on, I don't even know what a leadership book would look like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think because when it becomes a check off the box thing, then it's not genuine.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in the same way, I personally, it's so bad to say, because now you're like, I've never read a leadership book, but you just told me I'm a great leader. A lot of people tell me I'm a great father, I'm a great husband. I have not read a marriage book or a parenting book. I think it's intuition, and you know, we can go there, but you know, we both have the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And Jesus said he's going to lead us and guide us into all truth.
Yeah.
So we don't have to always consume all the information. There's a level of like, you know, God with us, Emmanuel, that there's, you know, you sense it. It's just, it comes natural. There are some cases where I have read books. Like I've read books on communication, reading John Maxwell's book, 16 Laws of Communication.
Yeah.
But shout out to John Maxwell that you know of him, you know, he's a leadership guy, and you didn't even have to read his books.
100%.
It's kind of like there's like these.
It's good branding.
Yeah, these levels to it, but he's been an OG in the game, and
Consistency.
yeah, for real.
How long has John Maxwell just been doing it? Day in and day out.
decades, legit decades.
Literally decades. Writing books, doing events, and that's why you know who he is.
Yep, 100.
So, going back to this content thing, you know, what would you say to somebody? This is a common thing I hear, is they say, well, what if I'm just getting started, like in my business? Like well, yeah, you can talk about all this stuff because you have authority.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I always say, I'm like, well, you can still get started. Here's why. And then I always say, and then I also get people who are like very successful people and they suck on social.
Sure.
Right. So there's no excuse either way.
Right. No, I have become more empathetic to people starting to create content, and it started from my wife getting her real estate license in the fall.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
So she's a beginner.
she's a beginner. I'm like, babe, you're going to make videos. I'm Omar Eltakouri, the video guy. You're going to make videos.
She's
And
like, no, I don't know what to talk about.
She's like, how the heck?
Yeah.
Like, what do I even? And I think there's a good place, a good rule of thumb. If you don't know what to talk about, just talk about what you do know. What
Yeah.
does she know? She knows fun things to do in the city with Ruby. Like
Yeah.
she posted a reel about Home Depot every first Saturday of the month, free arts and crafts.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then a reel popped off. But then on her bio, it says that she's a Las Vegas real estate agent. So that all she did was talk about what she knew and lean into that. Nobody's asking you to fake it. And
Yeah.
and so when I say if you don't know what to talk about or you don't feel like you have the credibility, just invite people on the journey. So Amanda was showing someone at the church a house recently, a first-time home buyer, and I'm like, babe, why don't you post anything about it? Post about you're like showing homes, like invite people into the journey. That's not sharing game. That's not telling the best practice to buy your first flip, or it's just invite people onto that journey. So experiences, no one could take that from you, So that's what I would lean into. Talk about what it is you do know.
Yeah.
If there's, and then people will find a connection. What do you do know? You do know that watches work really well and then as people, I get a DM from a friend who will DM me every time your watch reel comes out, and he's like my weekly or quarterly reminder that I need to get this Rolly. Just every time it comes up, he sends me the DM.
That's funny, dude.
But yeah, just stick to what it is you do know, and over time you'll be able to share those insights of something you figured out. If you just figured out something, share that you just figured out.
Yeah. It's wild, like the amount of effort it takes to create a book, right? And social media, with it changing literally like every month, it's hard to write a book on a social media platform. And I see why you've had to revise it. Like YouTube has shorts now. They have all this extra stuff that they never had. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, 100%. And there is a lot of new things. The first part of the book is the 7 C's of YouTube success, which is a framework that really is unchanging. And so we tried to write it with that in mind. But then there is a whole new chapter with new YouTube features, shorts, live streaming. It's been around, but updating it, super chat, community tab, YouTube stories, which, expire every 7 days, not 24 hours.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that we could talk about that. And then also, I think video podcasting, youtube.com/podcasts. Podcasting is a major trend on YouTube as well that everybody listening to this should be considering.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're on a YouTube podcast right now if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm a big fan of podcast. I mean, obviously, I've rebranded my podcast to The Wealthy Way. And, I'm going on basically 2 years now of podcasting. And I love it because not only do I get to talk to cool guests like you, but it provides me so much content in short form that, I get for all the other platforms.
100%. I think it's the most highly leveraged content format for entrepreneurs. You get your video podcast, you get the YouTube juice there. You can clip shorts, or rather clips, kind of that Joe Rogan style 3, 4, 5 minute clips out of it. But then it's endless in terms of turning it into vertical video. And as you build a team around that, which most listening to this would want to do, that's going to be the key, because to your point, any episode may have 5, 10, 15, 20 good clips potentially.
Yeah. I mean, there's some where I'm like, man, we've used that episode like in 10 different things.
Yeah.
But it's just like there were that many pretty good sound bites, essentially.
Yep.
The one thing we haven't figured out on podcast is just like what you said, the 4 to 5 minute clip. Because I see some of these guys like Joe Rogan or Dave Ramsey who it's like, yeah, they have a specific channel for their 5-minute clips. And then they have their long form podcast over here. And I don't really have that because I have my main YouTube channel, which is, 10, 15 minute, whatever videos. And then there's this, which is usually an hour. So, I mean, where would I even put those?
Yeah. Well, I think you could upload them on the same channel. For most, if they were going to start a video podcast from scratch, I would upload like every Tuesday, a Tuesday show. Then I might think, what is 1 to 2 around 5-minute clips? And there's no magic number. It could be 3.5, 5, 8.5 minutes, just the complete thought. Joe Rogan clips on YouTube is a great example. There's 4 minutes, there's 13. And I would upload those on the same channel, because what I've learned as a consumer that can speak to this, I actually rarely listen to people's long form episodes, but I mainly consume clips. And even if I touch in with Logan Paul on Impulsive, or these kind of YouTuber H3H3. I don't listen to H3H3's 3-hour shows. I look for these highlight moments. Same thing with Ramsey. I won't watch his 2-hour call-in show. I just pay attention to his highlights, and I'm like, what's he saying on this? And what you're doing is, I don't think you're going to offend subscribers that are like, hey, I already listened to that. You're actually going to serve individuals that may just want to grab a headline, click on a thumbnail and hear about that one moment.
Right. Yeah. The way I look at it is, for me anyways, I see short form being like the dominant form of video right now, and I think for the foreseeable future. And I think podcasts are a way to get short form clips that are really engaging. And I see, to me anyways, I think podcast becomes like the preferred long form method. Like, I don't know if you agree. You're the YouTube expert. You have over how many subscribers now?
I mean, 3+ million across a couple different channels.
And yeah, your channels are literally dedicated to teaching people how to make content on YouTube and all that stuff. But like, from me, my perception is I enjoy listening to hour-long podcasts and other things. I also enjoy looking at short-form reels and TikToks. What I don't really watch a ton of are the 10 to 20-minute YouTube videos anymore, personally. And I know that TikTok has been taking away from YouTube. You know, more people are going shorter and shorter. But then now I see this other extreme happening where people are doing the 3-hour podcast, and like, people are like loving it. What do you see happening?
Yeah, I love this conversation because I like what you said. You personally are not into that kind of middle range.
Yeah.
But I'm the opposite. I am. I think the sophisticated contentpreneur in 2023 and beyond is recognizing that they're serving up their core message in multiple different formats. It's like, you want to give people tapas, appetizers, you could give them a full entree, you could give them dessert, you could give them all these, you could give them a multi-course meal, you could give them a 3-hour buffet. It's just all these different formats that is just respecting different, viewers. And each one is a potential hook in the ocean. As you've discovered, you could post one vertical video that gets 1,000 views and then one that gets 10 million. And the goal is to just commit to the process of uploading everything. So, I was recently hanging out with Patrick Bet-David, and I was in his, I know you've been there as well, that 4 cubicles of thumbnails, posting, YouTube strategy, video editing. And I was talking, he has 2 guys now that sit in their weekly 2-hour long form show. And I think the way they do it's pretty intelligent, because they're embracing both shorts and clips, and they'll do that on a channel called Valuetainment Clips. And they have somebody that actually listens into the podcast, takes notes during of rough talking points, and then they also go back after and then put those notes over to the video editors. And it's just whatever format is best for this. If there's a riff on something that is 7.5 minutes, well, that's going to need to be a clip. And if there's something that could be edited down in under a minute, well, then that could be a short. And I think the other big unlock I learned from Valuetainment is he's committed to go 2 hours twice a week, typically Tuesday and Thursday. And them in particular, he gets a lot of voices around the table, which is a key. He gets some people with differing opinions. So he's got other people on his team, plus potentially a guest. And they just hammer what's happening in culture. So they're always creating 2 hours, which is a good example of what Ramsey does as well. He sits down for 2 hours and he just gets phone calls. So people are like, the stock market just crashed. What do you think? And so he responds to what's happening now. Bitcoin just crashed. And so things come up and he talks about the elections, about the midterms, about Jeff Bezos, about Steve Jobs, about Apple, iPhone, all, whatever. And then those become so many kind of trend surfing, influence surfing moments because he's creating content in that format in the long form. And then he's got a system of distributing that, again, all the way across social media, but on YouTube specifically, shorts and clips, depending on how long is the full riff on that idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Obviously we get the clips and everything, and we do a good, not the clips, the shorts. but we're not really doing clips so much. But I think it would be wise to have, my guy Austin, who's running the board right now, start taking notes of like, hey, that was a good point. We should, make sure we do that, etc.
Yeah, and if it was like a complete thought. So if, for example, we talked for 8 minutes and broke down one complete thing, if you were talking to, Matt from True Books and you guys broke down an actual, like, let's talk all about bonus depreciation, that whole conversation could also be edited properly or not edited at all. That's what JRE clips. It typically is just an in and out. And that's what Valuetainment does too. I said, do you really edit it? He goes, for simplicity, we really just kind of pick an in point and an out point to keep it simple. But the key is we really think about what's the hook, what's the title, what's the thumbnail, and we position it right. And they really at least download on something that's a complete idea. More than a soundbite, it's like,
a soundbite is a TikTok.
Yeah, a soundbite's a TikTok. This would be, like I could talk about what's the perfect video recipe in YouTube Secrets. It's 4 things. We could talk about it for 10 minutes. It's a part of a longer form podcast, but then that could really be a pretty good YouTube video that's 10 minutes, maybe even edited down to 7.5, and potentially could even maybe have a little bit of sizzle from an editor, a little bit of maybe music, cuts into some examples and so on and so forth. All that would be unnecessary, but out of these longer form conversations could be essentially mini YouTube videos. There's the clip strategy, but the YouTube strategy would be edited kind of like a creative TikTok, a little bit of music, sunglasses pop up, you say, it's interesting and it's consolidated. And why do all this? The opportunity is that what can often happen is maybe the podcast is the weakest performing in terms of reach out of all the content formats. But there's 7 minutes outside of it that editing is vested in. As an entrepreneur, you're paying an editor, you're spending money on that. That's output content-wise, resource-wise. But then that 10-minute consolidated conversation that an editor put 10 hours of editing into could get 500,000 views. You could tack on a call to action to whatever you want to have happen, throw an ad in the middle or at the end. Mm-hmm. And again, we just had this 60-minute conversation, and out of it, the question is there like a standalone YouTube video in there that could perform super well on YouTube and go further?
Mm-hmm. And do you guys do that on Think Media?
Yeah, our workflow is, because we have 2 channels like you, a lot of what we do is we do the Think Media podcast, and on Think Media, the main channel, we put out more crafted videos. Like even our standard on Think Media is you're typically going to get videos that are almost never longer than 20 minutes. So we might have a longer conversation or we always typically would have a longer conversation on the podcast, but there would be a certain moment. Another example is I did just interview PBD. We talked about the Mr. Beast turning down $1 billion. We chopped that into vertical videos, but we also turned it into a YouTube video. And the whole thing was about 4 minutes as a clip more.
But you put that on Think Media's main channel?
Yeah. And to that point, the psychology of that audience, the way we've built it, was not an hour-long conversation with somebody that most people probably wouldn't know. Truly, they wouldn't actually really know PBD over there. Some might. But they would all know Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
He was in the thumbnail. It was one idea, one topic. And that's maybe that's sort of, I think, the thinking. I think a lot of good YouTube videos are one promise, one idea, one title, whereas a video podcast is more of
there's a lot going on.
Lots going on. So you're actually into it more for the person or more for the big category. And so what is actually, as you get people on your team that really think strategically, it's like, oh, that's a strong idea. It's like a strong hook. Like that particular part, well, that would really serve well. And so at this point, Omar's thinking about this, or Kyle and Nolan are thinking about this, and we will turn longer form. There's also times where I'll teach for 50 minutes, essentially like a webinar or a web class. And that does well on its own. It could even be a live stream, but typically that's also maybe behind people opt in to be at a live class. Nolan went in and found a part and chopped out 5 minutes. He actually hooked it himself. So he's like, opens up with a qualifying question. There's a little bit of editing. There's some stuff happening. It's a it's spiced up for YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
but it's crushing right now. It's one of our top videos. So I just do this long form training. It has its own time and place, and it made its own impact, but packaged right into a 5-minute, 7-minute YouTube video, it's crushing in the algorithms, suggested, getting views every single month for the last couple months.
Yeah, I wonder if we should. I mean, we did a version of that, but we didn't spice it up. You know, it was just like, oh, this is the clip. It's 10 minutes, and we did no edits to it. You know, nothing, right? Whereas I repurposed my interview with Hormozy from my event, and it did really well because it got like 40,000 views because, I mean, obviously it's Hormozy. People are searching for him, but also we spiced it up. We added all these edits. It just wasn't us on stage. That's what it would have been. And so it was engaging as that format.
That's a big key. And if right now, click-through rate and average view duration are the metrics for a video to perform. So and average percentage viewed. So if you can actually take something that will continually get your fringe subscribers or even people who are not subscribed as YouTube recommends it, and have an average percentage viewed of 50, 60, 70, 80% of average view duration of 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, assuming let's say the video is 10 minutes, then that video is just going to crush, good thumbnail, and it hooks people more. People who are listening to this would be bought into you, very into education, right? Or more like wanting to listen to this passively while they're, driving or working out or something like that. Whereas the opportunity on YouTube on some pieces of content, because it takes energy, these are like outreach pieces of content. You're looking for something that's going to reach new people. So you're putting that extra effort into holding audience retention, which spicing it up is a big key for that.
So would you put it on my podcast channel or put it on my main channel?
Well, I think you could experiment with both. What I would say is I wouldn't overthink it. And that's where a lot of people kind of get stuck. I would say do both, do everything, try it all, and then measure. So what I would say is you have almost nothing to lose. In fact, you have nothing to lose. So, you go, okay, let's out of some of these episodes, let's try to get 2, 3 of the clips. Let's upload them, see how we do. And let's pay attention to a few things, not just the metrics and the analytics, but even the comments. If you had a barrage of individuals saying, I am so offended, you're in my feed, and my guess is almost nobody would say anything, or one person would say it, but you got 10,000 views, and it's like, okay, fair enough. But like people can self-select. They can listen to the full version or the short.
I don't really care what, haters or what anyone's going to say. I'm like, is it performing or not?
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and we just like to, in one way, I think this is a very 2023 YouTube strategy. YouTube judges videos individually. Like videos are judged on their own merits. Each video is judged. Of course, there's your channel and your subscribers, but all that's coming into play in regards to that is YouTube's going to serve your video to your subscribers first and how they engage with a portion of them. And based on the amount that click on it and engage with it, will it even be shown to more of your subscribers? We're talking about on their homepage. And then from there, it's trying to also suggest your video to people who are like your subscribers. So to that end, most people are not in the subscription feed studying everything you upload. They may only be getting hit with what's showing up on their homepage. So for you to test 1, 2, 3 clips on the podcast channel, throw one of those over on your main channel, and continually test and experiment, again, you really have nothing to lose. What I do think people do is they try to over-organize at the start. Like it's pretty clear what Ramsey's doing. Full-length shows on one channel, clips on the other. They figured out their rhythm. But I would say for you and me as well, we're just constantly trying to figure out our rhythm, our cadence. And so we uploaded a good clip from Evan Carmichael, who spoke at our event on our podcast channel. We haven't really done as many clips there, but it actually forever is one of our highest first 30 seconds view duration videos because it's more optimized. It's about a 5-minute video. To that end, mostly we put them over on our main channel. But essentially what I would summarize by saying is just, where should this one piece of content go? And I would ask your team, where should this one piece of content go? Like, let's not overthink it. does this fit on Think Media? Is it worthy of Think Media, which would be a wider audience that we might not go as hyper niche with like business content? It'd be very YouTube. We do a lot of camera reviews, so it'd be even more tech related, a broad appeal. If it fits there, I'd rather upload it on the 2.2 million channel. Is this more nuanced? Does it not fit there as well? Just put it on the podcast channel. It's that's a more ride or die community that kind of wants everything.
Yeah.
And then you're always updating your brand and just being aware, listening to your community, looking at analytics and adapting and pivoting as you go.
I love that. Speaking of the podcast, I had PBD on a few months ago. I met him at your event. That was how him and I met. And I did a YouTube video a little while ago talking about all the things I learned from him, and gave you guys a shout out because he shouted me out on your podcast, and somebody had sent me the clip, because I didn't see the whole interview. And he's like, yeah, I met Ryan at the event. He's so cool. That guy could be a model. And I was like, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So PBD's a good dude.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's an inspiring guy.
Yeah. So with everything that you're seeing now on YouTube and just the social media game, it's funny because when you and I first met, for those who don't know, Sean lives in Vegas, like a lot of, it just seems YouTubers and entrepreneurs do. And by the way, for everyone wondering, I'm born and raised in Vegas. I don't know anyone else that's in the game. They're all transplants, and I'll accept them. But I want everyone to know I've been here from the beginning. So were you from Vegas? No, you're from
born in Seattle.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's put that point to rest. You and I met during like the pandemic because I was starting YouTube, and then, I saw your guys' channel because I'm like, man, where do I learn about YouTube? And then YouTube recommended me Think Media. And I started just looking into it. And then all of a sudden, somehow I realized you guys were in Vegas. Someone talked about it in a video. I was like, oh, these guys are in Vegas. Let me hit these guys up. And then, sure enough, we ended up meeting somehow. I think it was actually through TrueBooks, maybe. Matt was doing work for you guys. And then, kind of the rest is history. We've been able to do a lot of things together. A lot of things that I've learned from YouTube and social media have come from you guys because you've been doing it how many years now?
Man, I mean, I started shooting video for my church in 2003, first YouTube channel.
2003?
Is that wild? First YouTube channel was 2007 for my local church in Marysville, Washington.
Mike Austin here wasn't even born. You've been doing YouTube longer than he's alive.
That's crazy. And so when were you born? Okay, so 2007 was when I started the first channel. So he's one. I'm uploading videos for my church. I have no clue what I'm doing. You had a 15-minute time limit then, no custom thumbnails, a whole different era. And then in 2009, I started a freelance video business, and the first video was uploaded on Think Media in 2010. It was very sidelined and really didn't get started until 2015, where I got really focused on Think Media. And now, 7-8 years later, things have really taken off, and that's become my sole focus. And so I've been doing video for 2 decades, YouTube since almost the start. And so, a lot of time, and have been not only creating my own content, but spent a lot of time doing freelance work and channel management and video editing and things for other speaker, author, pastor, churches, ministries, businesses over the years.
Yeah. That's, when we bonded through church and other ministries, and that's how I met Ruslan, who also knew Patrick, and then Pete Vargas, who I now do stuff with Cardone. Obviously Cardone's not in our space on the Christian side, but it's just been like this big circle of a lot of people we know. Actually through that group, I also met John Acuff, who's been on the show, who then introduced me to Jeff Goins, who's helped me write my book, Wealthy Way. So it's just like this circle, man. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Yeah.
But what's interesting with YouTubers, and even when I first met you, like I got on YouTube and TikTok at the same time, and most YouTubers were sleeping on short form. They're like, short form will never be like YouTube. Like, it's whatever. YouTube's king. And as we have seen over time, like I now see every YouTuber has to embrace short form. You guys is included. How has that shift been?
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that vertical video is the biggest opportunity in social media right now. It would be irresponsible to ignore vertical video. As a shift for us, I think as you're in anything for a while, when a major change comes, it's always a little bit frustrating because you're like, oh man, I got to reinvent myself again. Oh, another thing to do, another platform to embrace. But for the savvy entrepreneur who wants to be in business, not just today, but tomorrow, I think you have to be able to embrace where, skate to where the puck is going, not just where it is. And so I think the opportunity with vertical video is first, of course, YouTube Shorts. YouTube Shorts is now going to offer monetization, which Mr. Beast predicts and many others that that'll attract a lot of creators away from TikTok. But I think the opportunity with vertical video that we're embracing is first the commitment to creating relevant vertical video, meaning this, good hook, what's the big idea, learning kind of the art form. Then two, distributing it across many platforms. Because rather than thinking, oh, I should do TikTok or I should do YouTube Shorts or I should do that, I think what you should do is vertical video. I definitely agree with, people used to say, I actually think this kind of not as true in today's world. They're like, you need to do different content for every platform. And I would agree with that in the sense of saying, yeah, there's a YouTube video and you may not want to upload that video to LinkedIn or something, or you shouldn't just take one picture back when Instagram was really a photo platform, just blasted everywhere, and you need to make content native to the platform. Okay, fine. But I really think in today's world, if you're making a promise with your brand, like you help people with real estate, many other things, but like you help people with real estate. So real estate tips on LinkedIn or on TikTok or on YouTube can work regardless. So as we committed to creating vertical video, which in our case was the infrastructure, it would be like editors, social media strategists in terms of chopping out the clips. What we found is we'll upload something on TikTok. We recently had a 25 million one. We uploaded that on Instagram Reels, 750,000. YouTube Shorts, 125,000. Facebook Reels, which is I think one of the most slept on things right now. We're getting consistently anywhere from 5,000 to 5 million views on Facebook Reels. This is all no extra effort besides the strategy of uploading it. And now another one we're embracing is Pinterest vertical video, which a friend of mine recently showed me that he made $13,000 on the creator fund of Pinterest vertical video. And as we started uploading our clips there, we got 7 views, 9, our shorts or our vertical videos. 22, and then one already got 1,333. And like,
this
again,
is
this is Pinterest.
Yeah.
And so if you know yourself, meaning your brand makes a promise. And so why do people follow Sean Cannell? Well, YouTube tips, video production tips. So for everybody listening to this, like, what's your brand? What's your brand promise? What problem do you solve? And then on top of that, I do think there's also even the broad appeal thing. I mean, I'm dropping some content. I just did one, which actually someone else found. It was part of a podcast conversation about how I got expelled from private school. And so even some personal stuff or things that are more about how I was inspired by the Wu-Tang Clan and that influenced Think Media. Like, I think there's even things that could be more broad appeal that people, they maybe get too narrow, because that could be a bridge to just reaching somebody who checks out your bio, whatever. We could go more into that. So all that to say is we have been seeing insane results from posting vertical video across multiple platforms. And the one nuance would be, if you do want to intentionally think, okay, what is there a place to enter a title? YouTube Shorts have a title. Should that title be the same as it is on TikTok? TikTok just expanded the amount of characters you can do in your copy to a massive number. and Neil Patel was talking about it. TikTok is making a search engine optimization play.
Oh yeah.
TikTok is more used as a search engine by Gen Z than Google.
I heard that.
Yeah. And so those are nuances where maybe the vertical creative is the same, but how are you using hashtags on each place? Are you writing extra copy, extra words? Is the title a little bit different? Can you upload a thumbnail, or do you select a thumbnail, or is it done differently? Do you upload a thumbnail externally? And so those best practices could be helpful for someone that just wants to start messy, which you should start before you're ready. Start messy, just start posting. even if you didn't do all the best practices, it's still helpful once you've created the vertical asset to potentially put it a lot of places. If you make Hormozy style vertical videos, which a lot of people kind of the sit down, deliver one big idea, an editor throws some captions on there. It's is complex or not complex as you think. You just go straight through one big idea. That type of video can live almost anywhere. And then the final filter would be, maybe there's somebody that's being thoughtful to say, out of the last 20 vertical video clips we've created, 2 of these should be uploaded on LinkedIn. These all can go on TikTok because who cares, or we're just testing things. And maybe there's nuances to where you're posting it, but I don't even think you have to overthink it that much.
No, there's no harm to posting.
Exactly.
There's no cost.
Yeah. and that's a great point. And what's wild is, again, I like to measure certain ones that perform well. I like to measure over after some time has passed how they did across platforms. And I'm not seeing a rhyme or reason. Again, sometimes TikTok might typically give you the most views. Doesn't mean the best views, but it's a lot of times the most. But some stuff goes bigger for me on Instagram, maybe because it's more personal and I feel like the following is more invested in me. So if it's more of a personal story, it kind of goes bigger. TikTok. So, but who cares? It's
you know what I've seen, like even posting across all these platforms, is it's just always changing, right? Because TikTok for me, years ago used to be like, it would kill it.
Yeah.
Right. And then Reels, when nobody was doing it, was brand new. I just started killing it on Reels.
Yep.
And then now they're both mature. Reels have matured. TikTok has matured. YouTube has, shorts are finally good, and they've got separate feeds for shorts and everything, which has been huge. I'm like seeing that TikTok, even though I have the most followers there, 1.1 million, gets the least amount of views. And Reels gets the most. And, shorts sometimes do really good, sometimes whatever. But it's interesting to see. And I've actually heard that from other influencers where they're like, yeah, if you've been on TikTok for a while now, they're kind of promoting new people, trying to get them going. And so I'm like, that would make sense because the content's the same everywhere. So it's just curious to see how that's working out.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. And to your point, yeah, I mean, not overthinking it, taking massive action, being committed to the process, and getting those outputs out there, just meaning.
Yeah. And look, even if they don't get a lot of views on TikTok, whatever. I mean, it didn't cost me anything to post. Like, a view is a view.
Yep.
I was debating whether having you on the podcast because, all these people are starting to copy all the trends and everything. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just unleash the secret weapon on them, dude.
Well, I'm excited and scared because I don't want everybody to copy me, but I see why they would want to copy me because it's highly effective, and a lot of people that we work with, which I have some NDAs, I can't quite share everybody, but they're gonna know how it's being done. So I'd rather be the one leading the forefront on. Come learn from me. So.
Yeah. So it's funny, man. I'll give people the background since maybe you can't speak on a lot of the background. But I'm over on TikTok. This was, how long ago was this?
A little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half. Maybe
about a year.
Yeah, because I've only been on TikTok. Like I started right at the beginning of when the world shut down.
That was when I started too. Yeah, so I think during that time, I was making my own TikToks, and I made all my TikToks for about 6-7 months. Dude, I was pumping out 2 a day by myself, editing, and look, it got me hundreds of thousands, and it was what I needed. But eventually, I was like, just like every other business, I'm like, how do I outsource this? Like, I'm tired of making these videos myself. And I just don't want to do it. So I randomly came across your videos because you were just talking about TikTok in general. You were talking about, hey, here's how you make better videos. Here's how you use good cameras and hooks. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And you had all of these texts that people probably associate me with now. But you had all these texts going. I go, dude, I really like that. I think that will get good attention. And then I started to see Grant Cardone's TikToks. And I was like, these look very similar. Now, I'm not going to say whether you work for Grant Cardone or not, but I'm going to say that I reached out to you and I was like, dude, do you do this for people? Because it sure looks like it. And if you do, I want you to do it for me. And then the rest is kind of history.
Yeah. And then obviously we started working together. And
yeah,
I think we've added almost 400 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
Since, you know, I mean, but you have a good team that does a lot in addition to that, so I don't want to take full credit for that.
Yeah.
But, it's, you know, you had a really good operation, and obviously certain people are primed for better growth than others, you know, when we step in and kind of, you know, help people do that. But yeah, I mean, I just started on TikTok because, one, I was depressed because I had just lost a bunch of video retainer clients, and I didn't know what to do. And I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I was stuck at home watching her because my fiance is a nurse. So she was like going to work every day.
Yeah.
You know, back when shit was crazy. And I was like, I just had to refund out probably close to $20,000 because all my clients, I had already sent all the work, and they just decided to all hit refund and charge me back. And like, I actually had to go to the bank and pull out like my last $5K so I could make sure I had enough to pay my bills or what was left
Before it got charged back.
before all that. Because if it doesn't know you get a charge back, you have 24 hours basically to either put the funds in there or, in my case, take the funds out, which put my account into a very, very fat negative balance for a little while. So basically I sat on that and I was like, what do I do? And that's when TikTok, and I was like, I really want to just teach videography, and I really want to teach, you know, content creation from more of a marketing and direct response perspective, because I feel like that's where the future is. And that, you know, short form, I've always been a fan of short form. I was, you know, not that I'm not good at long form, but I always performed better at short form. So I was like, let me try doing what a lot of people are doing on YouTube, and it takes them 10 minutes, and I'm going to try to do it in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I started, you know, overly editing, filming my TikToks with a $2,000 camera, like, it was just instant hate.
Yeah.
People were like, why you spend this much effort? These are overly edited. Like, your information's not that good. But I, from a marketing perspective, and I guess we'd say an opportunist, was like, yo, I think a lot of people are going to be late to TikTok. And when they do wake up to the fact that they need to be focusing hard on short form, they're going to need somebody to either, one, educate them on how to do it, or B, do it all for them. And so that's when I decided, hey, let me just create an agency, but not just any agency. I just focus on TikTok. And now it's obviously, the scope has gone to Reels and YouTube Shorts as well. But and when I said that, I still have the video on my profile. Literally, there's like 20 comments of people saying that it's never going to work. and you know, and here we are, you know, a year later. I have 6 employees, and it's you know, the company's grossing like $50,000 a month.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I love that, man. And first off, I just want to thank you personally, because you've taken a lot off my plate. I mean, not only has my TikTok and, you know, as a byproduct, my Instagram grown because we just repost them on there, but you gave me my time back, because I was making all these TikToks every single morning. If you watch my original TikToks, you can see every single one was like at my house, because I just wanted to film it before I went and like actually, you know, did real work. So, but now I don't have to do anything, because you guys have been able to repurpose clips like this and, you know, make it so I really don't even go on TikTok anymore. Like, they're posted, and people will crack me up because they'll say like, hey, I really like what you said about this. And I'm like, when did I say that? And they're like, dude, you said it today. And I'm like, oh, because I don't know. Like, you guys are posting them. You guys are picking the clips. Like, I have no idea what everyone's doing.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, obviously, you know, when you, the level at which you're at and then the scale at which you operate your business, you know, it makes sense to outsource a lot of stuff. But I mean, you did it. I think that you have to do it to a degree a little bit in the beginning, especially on TikTok, because I feel like that's somewhere that people mess up.
Right.
Because it's totally different than any of the other platforms. You know, but you had that knowledge, so it was like even finding clips for you, and like you tend to, I call it speaking TikTok. Like you speak in a way at which is easy to point out that things will do good on TikTok, and not everybody has that quality, and that we see that with our clients, the ones that I would consider harder to grow. Like, they just don't necessarily speak in a direct and concise manner with enough tacticality to do well on the platform. So it's a good, you know, to go full spectrum. Like, I mean, it's awesome to, like, when people can, like, we can amplify somebody that's already doing shit that's good.
Yeah. It's way easier to amplify somebody who's good versus somebody who's not. And I think the point you're trying to make is that it's important for you to make your own stuff starting out. You know, that was the only reason I got good at it. Dude, I filmed like at least 500 videos on my phone by myself. I edited them. I still, to this day, have never edited a YouTube, a podcast, or anything. The only thing I've ever edited is TikTok, because, you know, on the app right there, it's not rocket science.
No, that's one thing I love about it. I mean, I've never once used the in-app editor or any in-app features to edit any of my stuff or clients. Like, we don't touch it at all. But what I value in what TikTok did was it made creating it kind of dumbed it down enough to where people could get started. And then TikTok also allowed people that were just getting started to also get some recognition that they may or may not have gotten anywhere else, which is what made it so addicting for, I mean, probably even yourself.
Yeah, I mean, like, to go, I think at the time I had like 15,000 Instagram followers, no TikTok, no YouTube, nothing. And then, I start making TikToks and I get to 100,000 pretty quick. Like, I don't know, maybe it was like a month or 2 months. I was like, this is nuts. Yeah. And it was just cool. And then once Instagram released Reels, I throw them on Reels and then my Instagram explodes too. Mm-hmm. And you're starting to see YouTube Shorts now. So, we're experimenting a little. Like, I don't want to water down my YouTube brand with all these TikToks and short form. But at the same time, I kind of want to hop in and, if one of those can go viral, it's a lot of subscribers.
Yeah, I think we're going to see. I mean, you've kind of been a very early adopter to the short form, like heavy short form. And it may, some people, some other, like obviously Gary V's comes to mind. Like, he's been a very big proponent of just content in general, but he started going ham on short form very early on. I think you can see it just with how society acts and reacts. Like, it's such a headline-based society and a clickbaity-based world we live in that they don't want to, unless you get their attention with enough short-form pieces of content to get them to sit down and, let's say, watch an hour podcast. I think most people start the wrong direction. They don't focus enough on just getting people's attention and building that little community based on, I'm just going to keep showing up, and if you like me, you'll stick around. And that's kind of what I've kind of adopted with my TikTok was, because I've since gone away from the content creation videos mainly because they just don't get as many views.
Right.
And, my business model is to show people that I know how to get views. So all I'm really trying to do on my TikTok is figure out creative ways to drive a lot of traffic to myself. If the byproduct is I get a good amount of followers, that's cool too. But also when I'm working with bigger clients, I just want to show them, I'm like in this too. Like, if we make a video for you and it goes viral, which will happen at some point, like I know
you make enough videos, you'll go viral on TikTok.
Like, I know what it's like to get destroyed on TikTok. I know what it's like to get 100 duets of people that don't like you. Like, and I try not to let that happen to my clients because that's usually, generally speaking, that we had a failed video because it was taken out of context.
Right.
But in the retrospect, it's like when you get taken out of context, it's usually 9 out of 10 times you always go viral.
Yeah.
So it's such a weird balance to follow with TikTok. And it's, but it's turned into, I mean, not that I don't enjoy creating videos about creating videos, but I also knew that skill set was going to limit me. I just needed to go super broad. And that's when, like, I just started just basically giving advice to Gen Z.
Well, what's funny is, when I first reached out to you, right, like I watched your videos and I didn't see you talking about, wanting to do it for other people. It was just like you were giving out good value and all this, like in your headlines and everything and your bio, there was nothing like, hey, if you want me to do this for you or you want to learn how, message me. There was nothing. I just messaged you because I was like, hey, you make cool videos. Like, do you think you can make me cool videos? And, we got on a call and we started talking, and that was when your agency was much smaller. And I was like, okay, this guy gets it. Like, let's roll with it and see what happens. And I don't know if the results were like instant or anything, but over time, it's just been a great thing.
Yeah, most people's results. I mean, we've had some smash hits. Like, some people are very easy to make go viral, and with viral comes followers. Usually 10 out of 10 times. Like, you get some amount of followers, and the more times you go viral, it just kind of, you keep getting more followers. But yeah, I mean, some people are a little harder, but I think it took about 6 months or so of us probably doing yours before we really started cracking the code to, like, now we.
This is what people like when for what I say.
When Ryan talks about this, that's 100K views. Like, when he says that, that's probably 500,000. If he says that and does this and it's in this location, he's probably going to get over 1 million. Yeah. Like, and that's kind of, we've just kind of broken it down to like the science of things too. I see a lot of data.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing close to 800 videos a month or so right now, like for all of our clients, which I don't even, that's hard for me to even fathom. like that we can push out that much between what I would consider still a pretty small team.
Do you even have a website yet?
I don't
No,
have a
like you
name.
don't have anything yet.
I don't
like,
have a name for my business. My
No.
name, it's just me. And, like, I became incorporated, like, so it's actually it's got some structure.
Right.
But no, I hired a new editor. Actually, yesterday I was on a call with him and I brought him on, and he's like, "Oh, what's the name of the company?" So I could tell him who we work for. And I'm like, that's a really good question, because mainly because I didn't want to early on.
Well, you didn't expect it to be what it's become.
No, and it's taken on a life of its own, and it's more. I guess the best thing is like I tend to bite off more than I can chew, and then just figure out how to chew it, and then it just turned into how many editors do I need to hire? What kind of training do I need to give these editors? What type of what can we systematize? How do we keep providing the quality at which we're offering and keep it competitive? Because I mean, I know people are going to come and start doing it for cheaper and stealing everything we do. That's just inevitable.
Right.
They're probably going to come faster now that I'm on this podcast. But they're like, "Oh shit, you're making that much money on TikTok?" But it's like
I can edit those.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot to it that we have. I mean, one of the things I'm most proud of isn't just necessarily the clients that we work with, but we've made over 300 million plus viewed videos, in 12 or 13 different niches in the last 6 months. And I have links and headlines, and those are all archived in a nice little database for me to reference and look at, so the data that, being able to do that. And that's what I consider viral. Everybody has their viral terms. Like I consider viral as 1 million views in 24 hours.
Right.
And the most I've ever gotten off of one video was 48 million views in 48 hours.
Wow.
And that got the girl, runs a prank channel. It's really good. She got 650,000 followers.
Wow.
That was one of those things. That
why haven't you gotten me 48 million views in 48 hours, dude?
Well, there's certain type of content can be seen by a lot more people.
I know. There's only so many people that can listen to me talk about, making money and TikTok.
That's kind of a good point that I think a lot of people are making mistakes on right now on TikTok, because they treat it like Instagram and they treat it like YouTube, where they're like, you need a niche. And even I made that mistake when I started, because I started with content and videography tips. But TikTok doesn't have as many people as YouTube and Instagram does, so they throttle your content, or they don't throttle it, they just push it to the most amount of people they can that have shown interest in that type of content. And for me, prior to switching to more general topics, I was only able to really get 150,000 views on my videos.
Right.
And I was like, man, why is it not going if it's got all the indicators that this should get more and more and more? And the only indicator was, it ran out of content creators or people that were interested in watching videos about that to show it to. So I made one video about, going out by yourself to make friends, which was completely different from anything that I'd put on my account before. And it got 4.1 million views and gave me 60,000 followers.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you too, I actually, I think on our very first call, I brought up that point to you because, I don't know how many followers you had at the time, maybe 30,000 or something.
It was small.
And I was like, dude, you make great content, but to be honest, I don't think you're really going to grow that much because your niche is just so small. How many people are creators that want to pay somebody to go edit videos for it? It's not this huge audience of people versus the prank channel. Everyone's an audience of the prank channel.
Yep.
I'll watch a prank video.
Me too.
Anyone will, but not everyone's an audience of real estate or social media or, business in general, right? And I thought about this with YouTube and other things. I'm like, okay, my YouTube, it's not growing as fast as I want it to grow. Should I broaden out and try and reach more people, or do I stay in my lane, understand that, the niche that I'm in has a cap to it and be okay with that and just be the dominant person in that niche? Because, being dominant in one niche can pay you a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's also too, you fight your ego when it comes to that too, because I love getting a lot of views. I'd be lying if I said I don't check my stats and go, why have I gotten so-and-so to go viral 50 times and why have I only gone viral 3?
Right.
And it makes you really question, what am I doing it for? Why am I doing it? It really forces me to, kind of have that talk with yourself.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, I want to get views. I like it. I like getting
What do you
recognized.
think the recipe is for going viral?
Super tactical. It has to be something, and we call it the first question that you should ask yourself if you make a video, even before you film. Most people film stuff and then just hope it goes viral. as you work, we tell people what to film because we know it's got a strategy to go viral. And the main thing is it has to be very tactical to where somebody who watches the first one. So if you make the video and you hit post, and then you watch my video because you follow me, you send it to your editor, and then your editor sends it to 2 of their friends. That's like the indicator. But if it stops just with you, or it only stops with one person, then doesn't have enough viral potential.
So people got to share it.
Yeah, but it's from the sharing mindset of like, can I send it to my fiance and then she shares it to her friends, which don't really have anything to do with what I teach, but the piece of advice is so good and so tactical that it can keep going beyond the niche.
Right.
And I think that's the more you can keep going, that's why pranks work, because you can just keep sending them to people because people just keep laughing and it's funny. But that's like the first thing is it tactical enough and does it share something of value to where somebody's going to go, I want to send it to somebody else. And I know that sounds like super, like that's a lot of people say stuff like that, but I don't think they think about that before they make the video. They think
and even a guy like me who does this for a living, I did not think about it like that. Like I understand it. It's not something I haven't heard, but when I think of a good video for me, I'm like, oh, the algorithm picked it up and it just showed it to millions of people. Like that was cool. Like I never really even thought that, oh, probably people are sharing this a ton and that's why it's signaling to the algorithm, hey, people really like this. They're sharing it.
And it comes down. It also comes down to it's a mixture of things. Like it's not like shares. Obviously, like there's no playbook. Like I don't know anybody at TikTok that says make your videos like this and this is what we're gonna do. But sharing is obviously a big benchmark because it's a human interaction. It's like was it good enough to somebody send it to their friends or text it to somebody? Then yeah, that's generally an indicator of one, they watched your whole video.
Right.
So then that brings in the importance of like watch time, which is another big. Yeah. I think likes and comments, I think that they weigh the least, but I've had videos with low watch time but high comments that have done really well too. But I mean, it's also what you go viral for also I don't think creators are thinking about that enough as well. Like I had a video that I was taken out of context. I got a lot of views, but I didn't get a lot of followers. But for example, that video that got 4 million views, they got 4.1 million views. I got 65,000 followers from one video.
Right.
Like because it was tactical advice, it was shareable, it was good advice, and there wasn't a barrier. I wasn't hiding something. It was just like, do this and you'll get these results.
Right.
And people did.
Yeah. So one thing I'll add. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about, I actually talk about in my social media academy. You guys can go get that at ryanpineda.com. Where we talk about TikTok, but it's about every platform: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that. But you brought up shares, you brought up watch time, which is great, and then the other one's click through rate, right? How many times are people clicking on that video? Now, TikTok, I don't know has click through rate, but YouTube does.
I think the click through rate to your profile, meaning did they watch one video
and then go to my profile?
Go to your profile, and then how other many videos did they
go from there? Yeah, and so that's TikTok's version of it. YouTube's version is did you click on the thumbnail and go to that video? Mm-hmm. And nobody knows how the algorithm truly works. Like everyone has their ideas.
Yeah.
And I heard Mr. Beast talk about it one time. He was like, dude, it's simple. Click-through rate and watch time. That's it. Like, think about it. If the thumbnail is so good that people click, that's the first indication that people are interested in this video. The second indication is, did they stay the whole video? If they, immediately exited out, tells you it was either clickbait or it was a crappy video, whatever. But like, if somebody wants to click it and somebody watches it the whole way through, you got a winner. Mm-hmm. Like that's it. It's simple math. And it's like people get caught up in the comments. People get caught up. Like, my friend Graham Stephan. He's always known for hitting the like button or smashing the like button. Right? Does that actually help him? I don't know.
Yeah, I always wondered that.
Yeah, like I don't even know that Graham knows, right? Like it's just a guess at this point. But what we can say for sure is if people are sharing your video, if people are watching it all the way through and they watch other videos of yours after that, obviously the algorithm likes that.
And I think they come at like the knowing the culture on TikTok too is very important. Obviously you have to hook them in, and the attention spans, no disrespect to people on TikTok, but the attention spans seem to be quite short. Meaning you have to, and they got really strong thumbs, so they swipe really fast. So you got to stop them from swiping that thumb. And the hook, obviously, the first 3 seconds of your video or 5 seconds is just as important as the next 3 to 5 seconds that comes after that. And
Right.
I think a lot of people put emphasis on the hook, but not what happens from the next 3 to 5 seconds after that. Because if you hook them in and then they don't get a piece of information or a piece of value soon enough, then they swipe away. So it's like there's even that transition period, which I think is even more, we spend most of our time when we're editing the first 10 seconds of the video.
Right.
Like, we want to make sure that that's like, we front load that with as much ammo as we can to go viral.
Right.
And, that's obviously different for everybody, and every video is different. But I don't think people put enough emphasis. They're like, oh, I can just say something outlandish and that'll stop people. Or I can do something funny and they'll stop. But, okay, well, what comes after that? How do you transition from that into actually keeping their attention for the rest of this 30-second video?
Right.
And that is like another, that looks different for every video we do. But
Yeah.
it's something that we pay close attention to, and you could see it, like, all the videos with lots and lots of views. It was like a good hook, and then it flowed really nicely, and then it just kept flowing. And before you knew it, it was like you weren't even watching a video.
You know what? Well, you know what's funny is, like, they started doing the 3-minute videos, and like I remember I had one good 3-minute video, and I was watching it, and I'm like, when is this thing gonna end? Like, the hook just kept going and going. I'm like, dude, this is the longest video ever, because you're just not expecting it on TikTok. What have you seen from the longer format?
Some people can do it. Most of our clients,
I was getting bored of my own video.
yeah, most of our clients, like, it's very hard to keep on TikTok specifically. It's very hard to keep the attention, in our experience, past 30 to 40 seconds.
Right.
Like 30 is like, if there was a sweet spot for viral videos, like 30 seconds is, from what I've seen, and we put out a lot of videos, that's where you need to fall. There are some unicorns, like your video was like 2 minutes and 48 seconds long, and it got like 4 million views. So like, but I know the editing that went into that video, and it was about 4 hours of editing
to make that 30
to make that happen. So, and Luis, who's on my team, shout out to Luis, he's awesome. But I was like, you spent how long on that one? And,
he was like, it was so good, I had to keep the story going.
He's like, I couldn't stop. He's like, I got in about a minute, and I was like, I bit off a lot more than I could chew here. But then I just kept going. I'm like, all right, Luis, that's not very effective for our workflow here as a company, but I value the effort, and clearly it worked.
Yeah,
But
Luis, shout out to you, dude. I appreciate it too.
Yeah. We've tried to recreate that on other occasions, and it just hasn't. Again, it comes down to the topic too, like what is being talked about in the video, and that's another. Do people on TikTok, is it even relevant to them? Like, and a lot of people, especially marketers and people that we see in the role in a lot of the circles that we flourish in, like they come at it from like a me approach, whereas like I make content about this and TikTok should just listen to it. Well, it's like, no, for example, we had a fitness video that like they have like a terminology for their like the loose arms, like the bye-bye arm or whatever.
Okay. I didn't know that.
I don't even know what it's a woman's like fitness term.
Okay.
But she said it in one video and with one terminology, and it got 500,000 views. So we were like, yo, let's just recreate this video in a different way and let's see if it works. Well, she said the term different. She called it something completely different, and the video tanked. So the term was more relevant. We searched it. We looked at it. The hashtag for that specific term was like 800 million views, whereas for the other term, it was non-existent. So TikTok pushes stuff that is culturally relevant and popular on the platform. That's why if you mention brands like Chipotle or Hydro Flask, you're sure to get a lot more views on TikTok.
Really?
And I've tested that extensively.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know why that is, but I'm thinking that they probably spend a lot of money on TikTok.
No, look, so I'm always talking about like new experimental stuff, right? So it's like, whether it's my NFT with Tykes and like, really, I'm like, have I like accomplished that yet or anything? Like, no one has. It's like a whole new thing.
Right.
All these AI people, there's not these AI experts.
Oh man.
They're all new.
Right.
They're all like testing ChatGPT too. They're just trying to figure it out, but they're sharing it. They're getting views. They're saying, hey, I figured out this new way to use this tool. Like, it's pretty cool. I think it might help somebody. And so like they figure it out. We're looking at all these new different businesses with Pineda Partners, and like one is going to be a food franchise. And I'm like, do I have food franchise experience? No.
Yeah.
Am I going to do what we talked about earlier, where I'm going to step out and just figure it out? Yes. That's going to happen. Am I going to make mistakes? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, am I going to pay the price for those? Yes. Is there a big reward for getting past them? Yes. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're all beginners
Yeah.
at some new point of our life. Now, here's the thing, right? The more success you do have in like other things, it does give you credibility,
100.
right? So it's like all the things I've done up to this point give me credibility for people to trust me on the next new thing.
Yes.
And, you know, you might be looking at it and being like, oh, well, I don't really have that many successes in my life. You do. You've achieved things.
You figured things out.
You've accomplished things in your life that have been successful, okay? And I mean, truthfully, I'll tell you a funny story. Back in 2015, when I first started flipping houses, I flipped my very first house. I made 25 grand. It was crazy. I was like,
Dang,
dude,
I got more on my first flip than you. That's tight.
How much did you make?
30.
dang, this guy. Well,
But I had to split it with somebody, so it was really 15. Go ahead.
well, then I made more.
Yeah,
I
okay.
made 25. Me. So, anyways, I flipped the first house, and dude, honestly, I was like, dude, I'm pretty much like the best house flipper of all time. Like, this is crazy that I just did this. And I remember I was like, all right, somebody's like, you should go to real estate meetups and stuff. And I'm like, okay. You know, so I'd be like going to the real estate meetups. And in my mind, like, now I'm working on flip number 2 and stuff. And I'm like, I'm in my mind rolling. For other people, they would go into that room thinking, oh, dude, like, I'm just getting started. Like, I haven't done anything yet. And I don't know if this just means I'm just like cocky or overly confident, but I remember being in that room like, yeah, dude, like I'm going to eat everyone's lunch and I'm already like so far ahead of like so many of these people, because truthfully I was.
Yeah.
Most people who go to a meetup have done 0.
Right.
You know? So like I already knew like I was doing things, you know, and then there's people who've done a lot and they're far ahead of me. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, those guys suck. I'm just like, all right, cool. Like they're at their point. I'm at my point. These people are behind me at this point. I was very aware of where I was, but like I was also extremely confident in where I was in the journey. You know, by the time I got to 10, I thought I was really good. By the time I got to 100, I thought I was extremely good. You know, because I remember when I wrote my first book, Flip Your Future, I had just like completed my 100th flip.
Wow.
And I remember I was thinking in my mind, because Russell Brunson was the one who influenced me to write the book. He was like, you're an expert. You're an expert. People want to hear what you know. And I was like, I don't know, dude. Am I really qualified to write a book on flipping houses? Like 100 isn't a lot. You know, at the end of the, like, I don't know everything about flipping houses. And then like, I just remember breaking that belief and I'm like, dude, I flipped 100 houses. You know how many people have flipped 100 houses? Like 0.001%. I was like, okay, I am qualified to write this book, and I'm not going to act like I'm something I'm not.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I flipped 100 homes. Here's how I do it. And it's like, if you think that qualifies me, then read the book. If you think that's not enough, don't read the book.
Yeah. No, put it on the people to decide. And
yeah,
I mean, if in that book you're talking about how to do 1,000 and you're speaking beyond, you know, those things, but no, you did the thing.
Yeah.
And then you shared what you did.
Yeah.
You know, I feel the same way. Dude, there's moments where I get discouraged about video and what is the thing? And I'm like, dude, I ain't nothing, bro. And then I look at receipts.
Yeah.
You know, I have produced over 300 and something very high quality YouTube videos that concept to completion, brand deals, brand integrations, ad reads, thinking about what people need, like different budget, like, no, dude, like no one could take that away from you. You know, I think it's just the comparison game sometimes. It
100%.
steals, comparison's the thief of joy, and self-awareness. You said it. Well, you were self-aware enough to realize what you just did.
Yeah. Like I knew flipping one house was a really big deal.
It's huge.
Yeah, I was like, bro, I'm not like looking at these other guys who are way far ahead. I'm like super excited that I flipped the house. Now, when I had not flipped any, I was still also confident that I was going to flip, but like I wasn't like walking around like I was hot stuff. I'm like, yeah, I haven't done it yet, so but it's coming.
Yeah. Dude, that's encouraging. Now I'm gonna go write a book. Was it Expert Secrets by Russell?
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually just reread that book last month.
Wow.
because it had been 5 years, and I was like, you know what, this book like kind of started all this
crazy.
stuff. Let me reread it and see how I did. How did I end up executing this book based on what I thought then to what I see now? And
That's really cool.
yeah, it's interesting.
What would be like 3 other, like so expert secrets, foundational business, thought provoking, personal development books that you look back on, you're like, dang, that actually did shift the way I thought about something.
Yeah, Expert Secrets was one. I mean, there's a lot, man. So like, I'm just thinking back to like the early days, since we're talking about people just getting started. You know, I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad talks about some things you just don't realize with real estate and everything. You're like, okay, you know, that's cool. You know, I even think reading Cardone's was interesting. I reread 10X Rule last year because it'd been like 5 years. I was like, I wonder like what I think of. It was basically like, I wonder what I think about these books that kind of like fired me up back then to where I'm at today. And it was funny because he was talking about the same things. Like that book was published in 2010.
Wow.
And I read it in like 2015 or something. And back then he was basically like, yeah, I'm gonna post on Twitter like every day. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna use Facebook, I'm gonna use Twitter, I'm gonna just go all in and make content. This dude's talking about it in 2010.
Wild.
And he was like, people don't get it. He's like, you got to put in 10 times more of the volume and effort to achieve your goals than you think. And he's like, so instead of 1 tweet a day, 10 tweets a day. And it was like, wow, that's what it takes to be successful. And then like, now you look at what that did for him over a 10-year time horizon, you know, from there, when he wrote that book in 2010, I mean, he kind of alludes to it, but he wasn't worth a lot. Like he might've been like, I don't know. Maybe he was probably a multimillionaire, but definitely like, I don't think he was worth over $10 million. I think he was probably a couple $1 million,
Wow.
you know, whatever. And he's writing this book about being successful. And then like, he just really believed it. And
Dude, I remember 2015, just like I was shooting and editing for Sean, and like his show was something that he had a show. Grant Cardone had a show that he did with a co-host, and they would just talk business. They would talk real estate, and it's funny like looking back, like they've been doing it, bro. You know, no, that's really
consistency.
Cool. Yeah, but I think there's something there about like going back to the books that. Because like now that you've maybe implemented something that actually happened with Alex's book for me. I didn't get it the first time I read it, even though he writes at a 3rd grade level. But you know, it's because I never created an offer personally myself.
Yeah.
So it didn't really like resonate. And then I actually put an offer out there for the first time in my life.
Yep.
Read it again a couple years later. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's crazy how it illuminates like a lot of things when you just go back.
And there's a lot of books like that you don't get it the first time. So another, you know, this made me realize another book I read that was super important was Traction. So Traction is about how to build a business and organize and build operating systems. So, you know, it's the foundation of the EOS operating or entrepreneur
like
operating
Rocket Fuel
system.
and-
Then there's Rocket Fuel is the sequel. But yeah, you know, I read EOS or I read Traction in 2018 for the very first time. My friend Carlos Reyes recommended it. I was like, all right, I'll read it. I read through it and I'm like, I ain't doing this. And seriously, that was my first reaction because it was like, yeah, you got to have an org chart. You got to have this. People need to be accountable. I was like, dude, I just made $1 million like without any of this crap. That's where my mind was at. And then I ended up losing money and people were like, you know, acting fools. And I was like, maybe I need this stuff. And so it took me about 1.5 years later that I finally came to the realization that I needed it. And, you know, I ended up hiring a business coach, Gary Harper, who's now, you know, with us at Wealthy Business. And we actually implemented it. It took like 1.5 years. And then I was like, yeah, I understand why it was an important book.
That's really cool. I mean, I'm so interested in your, like, it's not, I don't want to ask the wrong question in regards to like, why do you just keep achieving or wanting more? Because I know it's deeper than that, but you know, you're definitely not the type of person who wants a slim bit, just a slim business. You want to hire, you want to scale. Why? I mean, because I learned from people who just that's what they preach. Keep it slim. You
Yeah.
only need one VA.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about this. Before I get to the why, let me tell you the problems of what happens at each level since I've gone through it. So what starts off as a solopreneur, you do your thing and you're making money and whatever, right? At the end of the day, when you're a solopreneur, you're not really a business owner. You just have a job.
Right.
It's like when I was flipping houses by myself, it's great. I was
just
making
employed yourself.
Yeah, I was making great money, but the moment I stopped doing it,
Right.
it's done, right? Realtors are this way. Content creators are this way.
Yep.
That's the first level. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that, hey, even if you do it well, if you never progress beyond this, you're done. You will stop making money.
Yeah.
So you decide, hey, let me grow this team a little bit bigger. So, you go lean because you don't really know what you're doing yet. And you don't have enough volume of things needing to get done. So you hire an assistant, maybe you hire a sales guy or a marketing guy, right? You're not like hiring a COO right now. You're just trying to like figure it out. So that's what I did. I ended up hiring a project manager. I hired, a listing agent. Then I hired a couple sales guys. And so like my house flipping business grew to like a team of 5. So we were lean, right? And that was the first time I made 7 figures in a year. And I was like, man, okay, like this is good.
Wow.
And I was also doing less. Like I wasn't working as much. I was actually still coaching high school baseball.
Wow.
People don't even know this, but like in 2017, wait, was it 2017? 2016 might have. Yeah, 2016 was the first year. I moved near Spring Valley, and I was still playing pro baseball, but it was the off season, and I'd moved right next to the high school. I don't even know why, but I think it was the Holy Spirit just like telling me to do it. And it was like, you know what? He's like, Ryan, you need to just go help them, because I would drive by it every day to school. And I was like, I don't even know anyone there, like anything, like, but whatever. I don't even know who I reached out to or how I got their number, but I just called up the head coach and I was like, hey, my name's Ryan. Like, I've been a pro baseball player for like 6 years. I live by you. I don't want anything from you, but I would love to help you guys coach. And I'll do whatever you need me to do, whatever. And he's like, yeah, we'd love to have you. And so I literally had to jump through like a million hoops, because you got to go get registered with the district and do these background checks and all this, because he was like, but it's a lot of work. You can't just come out like maybe like what you thought.
Yeah.
You got to go through
This
all
ain't the
this.
little leagues, bro.
Yeah. In my mind, I was like, yeah, so I'll show up tomorrow and like, let's roll. And so anyways, I did all this stuff, I become a coach and just start, coaching these kids. I'm throwing batting practice. I'm, hitting ground balls. I'm out there with them fielding and stuff. And then as it got closer to time for me to leave to go play, I then start practicing and and then they freaking love it, dude. They're just like, this dude's hitting bombs, just freaking, so dude, it was such a fun time. And even a lot of those kids to this day, I still keep in touch with. So this was in 2016.
Yeah.
And then 2017, I did it again and played, but 2017, or no, sorry. That was 2017, first year. 2018, I did it again. And this was the first year I flipped over 100 homes and made 7 figures. So I was coaching, I was playing, I was flipping, I was just doing it all. And wait, was that? No, I was done playing in 2018, but I was still coaching. And I ended up, having a blast doing it. And, it was just a good time. But here's the thing. I would have never been able to enjoy doing that if I didn't have, the business. I would like practice was literally from 2 to 5. Mm-hmm. And so I'd leave the office and go to practice every day at like 1:30. So, my team would still handle the deals. We still, did over 7 figures, and it was great. Then, going 2019, 2020, I realized I'm like, well, this is great, but I mean, I'm never satisfied where I'm at. Like, I want to get to the next level. What's the next level look like? So I start hiring coaches and mentors and all these things, and they start explaining like, okay, well, this is what the next level is. You got to spend more on marketing. You're going to need more sales. Like, it's just more.
Wow.
It's not that you need to start a new business. It's just You need more of what you do. I was like, okay. So I get better at hiring. I get better at these skills. Then I kind of like master the process of like what running a business is like. And I'm like, I wonder if I could do this like with other businesses.
There's a pattern.
Yeah. So I start, really going hard on my education company, my tax company. I'm like, it's the same. It's literally the same thing. We just, we have a product, we have to market it, we have to sell it, and we have to fulfill on it. That's it. That's the business. And that became the foundation for everything, where it was like, all right, well, let's grow the existing. And then when there's an opportunity, let's add a new vertical. And so that's all I've done up to this point. The last 3 years is just like, I'm opportunistic to what's available. And then I'm also trying to make what we currently have better. And then I'm also pruning things away that no longer make sense. It was like my brokerage had 200 agents. It was like, it's cool. It was making money, but it was like, it no longer makes sense with what we have going on. So
that's cool. I mean, what I loved that what you mentioned is that the business afforded your ability to be able to like coach these kids.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm seeing as somebody who's also in ministry, and who my business affords me to be able to serve at a high level and give big, is how awesome business is, and like how powerful it actually is that it gives you that ability to do so.
Yeah, 100%. So like, to tie it all together, everything to this point, now we got over 100 employees, and
Crazy.
like, I don't know where we'll be in 5 years. It'll probably be over 1,000 employees if I had to really guess. And it's not that like I'm trying to get to 1,000 employees, or like I'm trying to be huge. It's just like, I don't really have a choice. It's just like the way it's being built, that is going to be what happens. The way that the people and the culture that we've brought in of like growth, that's what's going to happen. Nobody here's like, yep, let's just be stagnant and chill and content with the status quo and like try to keep the ship where it's at. Everybody's like, let's freaking push the ship as fast as humanly possible to the destination, which we don't even know where the destination is. We're just trying to push through it. We're like Columbus. We're just like, whatever happens, happens. And, I think for me, what's the whole why of all of this? It's a tough question to answer, because of course there's the faith element of it. And, the faith element of it is, if I make more money and build more businesses, two things happen. One, I can give more. Two, I can, impact my employees, who then impact our customers. Yep. If I grow my social media, it gets the word out, we can spread the gospel. We can do so many things, right? So it's like more equals more lives changed.
Yes.
Absolutely. Two, I mean, even from a selfish standpoint, having nice things is nice. Like when you talk about the watch and like whatever, like it's tight having nice things. It's cool going on cool vacations. Like it's for people who don't, for my frugal people who don't care about any of that stuff, go try and enjoy some stuff and then come back to me.
No, you challenged me. Just try it, dude. Fly private, eat fancy. Like, just see what happens, I've always been a frugal kind of guy, even as my income has grown.
Yeah.
And I would attest to it, there's something about it. And then how you say that sometimes it rewards you to be in those, environments or rooms or what have you.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't, it's what,
if you still enjoyed it,
it's like how it makes you feel. I remember I bought my first pair of designer shoes. It was a pair of boots from Saint Laurent.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, dude. I just remember putting those on. I was like, bro, I'm the man, dude.
I feel good.
And that did something, that just does something.
Didn't you get a Rolex?
I did. Last year, I got a nice little piece, and it's great. I love it. It reminds me of so much looking at it. I also like, what's funny about like investing in nice things too, is a lot of times they hold their value.
They do.
So then it's actually like, you're actually making or save. It's a savings account, or
however you want to look at it.
However you want to look at it.
You can go sell it tomorrow and be fine.
Yeah. So that's what's funny. I've been even learning how like supercars even increase in value. People are like,
100%.
You got to be so rich to buy a supercar. Well, it's like, it's just a place to put your money.
Yeah, I got a lot of buddies who they pre-order supercars, they drive them for a few months, they flip them, make money.
It's crazy.
And they had a supercar. They got to enjoy it. I'm like, That's good business.
Yeah, no, the nice things is that's real.
Yeah. But I'll also say, so like, basically two things happen once you go big, okay? One is, you know, with more money comes more just opportunities and options, right? It's like, you know, the fact that you can do ministry and it doesn't have to be your full-time job or anything else, like, because you have income over here, that's a beautiful thing. That's what options are. You know, I get a lot of pastors who don't have that. They DM me all the time and they're like, bro, like I'm thinking about wholesaling. I'm thinking about this because I'm making 30 grand a year over here and like it's not enough. So like they don't have options, you know? So they're trying to figure it out, which is, I love it. But like the fact that you can do ministry stress-free because of what you have over here.
Yeah.
I could go coach baseball stress-free, which was my ministry, you know, with those kids. You know, because I have what I had going on over here. So options are like a huge thing, you know, giving the options, all that stuff. But the second thing is, even from a business perspective, it's actually easier to run a big business. That's what people don't get. Like at the end of the day, think about it. On the solopreneur side, we know if you quit, it dies. On the big business side, if someone quits tomorrow, okay, use my boy Austin there tomorrow, the business, like my content's not going to stop. You know, the business isn't going to just die tomorrow. I'm going to go bring in Art right there. You know, Art's going to replace him and we're going to be in. And the videos will keep chugging along, right? There's somebody who's going to step in and we're going to find somebody new, right? It may not be immediate, but somebody will step in, fill the role because we have other people who know the role at that point. You know, we have so many sales guys. If the sales guys quit, nobody's going to notice. Like, we're just going to keep going because we have a big business. Now, when you're in the middle ground, let's just say you have a lean team of 4. Your sales guy quits. You have one sales guy.
Yeah.
The whole business is in chaos now because now somebody who's probably not good at sales is going to have to go do it full time because it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe you're going to have to do it full time and now you can't do this, or you're working now 16 hours a day because you're doing 2 full-time jobs. And you got to go hire. So it's really 3. You're doing HR, your normal business, your sales, and you're hoping you're as good as that person. Or your marketing person quits. Now you're screwed. Like you have to go. So
no, that's really nobody. I haven't heard that.
But that's the truth.
When it gets bigger, it gets easier.
It does.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, for some people, that means more risk or more stress. But to me, it gets easier. The fact that I'm literally gone like every month, you know, I'm golfing, I'm filming, I'm going on vacation, I don't even know what I do half the time, but like, I'm not here like that often.
Yeah.
And things still run. Like I show up here, there's more people here than when I left. I'm like, where do these people come from? Like, what's that guy's name? And somebody hired him. You know, I didn't hire him, but that's what happens when you have a big business.
Yeah.
You have somebody you trust that knows the needs of the business. They're going to go hire who's needed. And, you know, the business grows.
It's fire.
It's crazy.
Future Flipper. We're going to have Future Business. That's the next book.
Well, Future Flipper's not a thing anymore. Okay. It's Wealthy Investor.
Well, the book.
Oh, the book. Yeah.
Future Business. Like that's something because you can now project.
Yeah. So I actually, you know, I'll plug my current book, you know, The Wealthy Way right here. Here we go, guys. Wealthy Way. You know, so I wrote this back in December and it's doing great. It's already got, I don't know, like 750 reviews I saw.
Nice.
Still constantly rated in the top. So super excited about this, but I am working on now my 3rd book already. And I don't want to reveal the title or anything like that, but it may go in line with what you just said. You know, just about, man, like the question I get is, okay, how do I either start or grow my business?
Yep.
And it's like, well, there's a lot that goes into it. And so, you know, in that book, we're going to be making the case for different types of businesses, right? Like, hey, all right, you got a normal W-2? Let's talk about a side hustle, okay? You're going to keep your job and you want a side hustle. That actually is the best case scenario for some people. I'm not over here saying everyone needs to quit their job.
Right.
You know, like W-2 and side hustle for some people is
great.
the best choice. Being a full-blown entrepreneur, you starting your own thing is the best choice for some people. Being an entrepreneur, somebody who's in the business and taking accountability, like a Javi or a Brian Davila or a Justin, like
creating within the business.
Yeah, like having a very authoritative role and like treating the business as your own. That's for a lot of people, so like there's all levels of like being successful in business, being what we would call a wealthy entrepreneur. There's a lot that goes into it.
That's really good. I'm looking forward to it. Are you sitting at a laptop just tick, 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 or are you doing an interview style?
Yeah. So, with the Wealthy Way, I had a ghostwriting team with me. I don't even know if ghostwriting is the best word, but like, a team helping me write it.
Yeah.
With Flip Your Future, I did that. I wrote the whole thing. I was like, dang, that was hard. And, that was 5-6 years ago. And then so when the Wealthy Way came, I was like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. But by then, my business skills had evolved so much that after 5 years, I had learned, I was like, actually, like, I'm not even the best person to do this. Why don't I delegate it out?
There's people good at this.
There's people who are professional writers who
they'll make you sound better.
They're going to make the book way better than I could make the book. We're going to get all the concepts that I know need to be in the book, and they're going to say it in a way better way than if I'm just sitting there like, freaking, I don't know what I'm doing. Boom, 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 boom. One of the problems with Flip Your Future was, and it's not a problem. There were people who loved it. They're like, dude, it's just so straight to the point. It's just like, boom, 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 information. There's no fluff. And that's my style if you know me in person. I'm just like, bro, get to the point. What are we talking about here? Boom, boom, boom. Wealthy Way doesn't have fluff. It has stories.
Yep.
It has things that help you relate to what, I'm trying to teach you and what I had to go through. And like, people love it. When you tell stories, this is a huge tip for creating content. Like, storytelling becomes so important.
Yep.
And I didn't know that 5 years ago. I was just like, yeah, so here's how you flip a house. Just do it. There was like no stories at all. Now I realize, like, you want somebody to do something, they got to first like visualize like actually what that is like. And then if they can do that, then they believe. Then they get the information that they need.
A framework of communication that I've gotten from Pastor Jabin. He said it's state, illustrate, apply. So if you have a bar or a one-liner, or you have like a thought or a theory, what is it? State it. Just say it, what it is. Do what you can to make that as, pain equals progress. That's the state.
Yeah.
The application. Then, if you go to the gym, now we're or the illustration.
Yeah, we're illustrating
if you go to the gym, you're going to start to feel the pain and you're going to be sore, but you're growing, you're building muscle. And so what's the application? The application is, I know when I'm experiencing pain or whatever. So if you ever hear my sermons and if you have that framework, you'll see that I'll say something, illustrate it, and then bring it back to how that's applied or how that works for us,
Yeah.
It's honestly a content format too. Like, that hook, content and then call to action. It's kind of like the same idea, but in regards to storytelling, that piece is important and
super important.
And honestly, the goal is that you have a handful of these stories.
Yeah.
And over time, the more you tell them, the more, the more foundational they become to, like, every time you show up on a podcast, you go back to it. And not everyone's watching every video you make or every interview you're on, but you have dialed that in. Something I've seen like Sean do really well is his story about Sonia, his wife who has chronic illness, and like he was I could restate it.
Yeah.
Gary Vee, they have their stories. Like, there is something so powerful. We remember stories, and so I think that's good. It's not fluff if you're intentional about the story actually enhancing what it is you're stating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was talking with my writing team about the book this week, actually. And one thing they're saying, I was like, hey, it's great. We did a great job with Wealthy Way and the stories there. And they're like, we're going to obviously tell more stories about you, but they're like, one thing we want to do is get more stories from your community. And
that's really good.
Yeah. They're like, because you have so many success stories, people from zero to millionaire, people who quit their job, people who have been able to go have freedom to do other stuff now because of the things they've learned. And they're like, we want to interview those people and put them in the book as well.
Awesome.
And I was like, yeah, I didn't think of, I would have never thought of that. You know, like I would have just started writing. I'd have been like, hey, here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, no, let's do that. That's great. Because now some people may not relate to me anymore. They're like, well, yeah, whatever. He could do it. But then you hear a story of somebody that was just like them not long ago.
Right.
And now they're doing it. And you're like, wow, okay. If so-and-so can do it,
It
I can.
validates that information you're trying to give to a lot of people.
Yeah. And I think that's so important with creating content, right? Is like mastering your story. One thing one of the first principles we teach at Wealthy Creator is master your story. And what that means is you got to master like what your message is, how you got there, how you came to believe that message. And, you know, you got to be able to tell it in 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever like the designated time is for that story. You got to be able to master telling it. I could tell everyone who's followed me for any kind of period of time knows I flipped couches, I maxed out my credit cards, I flipped my first house, you know, like they understand the story. I played baseball.
It's powerful.
Yeah. That was the 3 minute, or that was like the 15-second version.
Right. No, but like what's crazy is people say hi to you for the first time, and even though they're saying hi to you for the first time, they feel like they know you because they know your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's the power of social media for everyone who's listening to this. Like, imagine, you know, you start telling your story and these people start following you. They understand you. They resonate with you. You've never met them before. You've never seen them. You have no idea they're watching you, right? Like, you can't see who's seeing every view, you know, you get.
100.
And so you just never know who's watching you. You know, I was in Miami yesterday. I was telling you guys, you know, when I was at the airport, I was waiting for my ride at the thing. Guy like pulls up next to me. I'm thinking it's my ride. And he's like, "What's up, Ryan?" I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I'll see you at WealthCon next month." I was like, "That's right. I will see you there." And, you know, that was like in the morning. Then, you know, whatever, I go to Cardone's office and we film and all the stuff. Then I go golf with, you know, 2 people for a golf with Ryan, you know, just 2 people in Miami, never met before, you know, but they had seen my stuff. And one was actually an ex professional golfer.
Wow.
And he's like, "Dude, I really resonate with your story because I went through it of being a minor league golfer and, you know, grinding so hard to make it." Like, he resonated with the story. And then now we're golfing, right?
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then we were eating dinner before I flew out. And then the waiter was like, he just keeps looking at me. And like I had a hat on and stuff, so that's my version of a disguise.
Call it good.
just taking
Like
my hair out of
the
it.
Netflix show You. That's what he would do.
Yeah,
Just murder somebody, hat.
that's me. When I'm trying to be low key, I just wear a hat. And he's like, I thought I didn't hear him properly because he had kind of had an accent, and he was like, "Aren't you influential?" That was what he said. I was cracking up. I was like,
What a pure way to say it, though.
yeah. He's like, "Aren't you influential?" I was like, nobody has ever said that. Like, it would all, if you didn't know, they'd be like, "I think I've seen you like on TikTok or social media or something." He's like, "Aren't you influential?" And I was like, yeah.
That's cool. Did anybody help you crafting those things, or why did you know that it's something you should always repeat or bring up, like those
stories?
Yeah.
I mean, Russell Brunson talked about it a lot in Expert Secrets and stuff, and so I resonate. I was like, okay. And I just thought about how he sold me into his thing, and he told the story of like how he had a potato gun and he couldn't sell anything, and you know, he bought. Like, I kind of know his story. I haven't listened to it enough times, but you know, he told his wife he sucked, and then eventually the funnel started making money. And yeah, I just at that point I had a story. I mean, I had like so many things happen in my life that made me very unique, and it's like nobody has my story. You know, there's no guys who grinded it out for 8 seasons playing minor league baseball who then started flipping homes while they were playing, who then started making content and other businesses and, you know, just all the crap that I do now. It's just like I'm unique and everyone else is unique. You're unique. How many pastors are on social media who are experts first and foremost at creating content, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's what you did before you became a Bible expert.
Yeah. I'm a Bible expert, everybody.
That's
Just
what I'm
want
gonna call you.
everybody-
That's like pastor, Bible expert.
No, man, I think it's really important to lean into the story because stories stick.
Stories stick. Hey, why are pastors so good at phrases?
I mean, I would. That's a general statement. There's some pastors I think aren't the best at communicating. I would say, but
That makes it hard to be a pastor.
no, yeah, I think it's part of it is I get to glean from an incredible communicator and learn from I think one of the best, in Pastor Jabin. And so, when I started preaching, I realized how much I needed to obsess around how I say something.
Yeah.
And, the pendulum swings, there's, it's gone one way where it's like, dude, you don't have to be Dr. Seuss. We're not trying to paint a picture every time you list out something that spells out an acronym or something. But what is one way that it can help and stick? And a lot of times alliteration would do that, when you purpose and pain, it just sticks.
Yeah.
I asked the question a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about fruit and like, what's the fruit of your life? And we say that we are followers of Christ, but it doesn't come out in our actions. And so how can I phrase that in a way? It's does your confession line up with your conduct? And it just gets people to think. It gets a response, and you let it sit, and then it was just a streamlined way of. So I say.
So you're only an alliteration guy.
I mean, if it makes sense, I never try to force it, but there is something about I think obsessing around how something is said just to make sure. And I'm not trying to say nothing new. Like that's the thing. Nothing is new under the sun, but there is new ways that it could be said, or a fresh way, or even saying an old thing.
I'm actually
again.
reading Ecclesiastes right now.
Hey. That's a good one.
It's nothing new under the sun.
There you go.
Did you know it's from there?
Yeah.
All right, good. Just making sure.
I'm not the kind of guy that I'm a Bible
truly
expert.
know.
I'm a Bible expert, but I don't know. A lot of times I don't know exactly where. I know that I know that's Ecclesiastes, but I'll usually say the Bible says. Like, hey, can you pray for me for? I got this thing. I'm like, all right, let's declare God's word. I'm usually not like, Titus chapter 3 verse 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually
that's
like
the next level.
Bible. Yeah, right. And some people, I don't know if I have a photographic memory like that, but I know it's in there.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah, you can Google it.
How did you become a pastor? What led you down that path?
Yeah, what's funny is at first when I first gave my life to Christ and got saved, this was 2011. I kind of just started serving. I started using my gifts for the kingdom, taking photos and video in church. I was actually serving under Sean Cannell, and
that's how you guys met.
Yeah, and
okay.
he was the marketing director at the time, and then I kind of got hired as an associate, and then he moved, and I assumed the role as a creative director. But I would say the calling of pastoral leadership and pastoring people came from that scripture I brought up earlier in the conversation about when Jesus looked out and compassion filled his heart. I felt it was like, Omar, it was a prayer I made. I said, God, give me the compassion that Jesus had, that I can see people beyond what, is at face value, and I could still feel something. And mixing that moment that I had with someone who discipled me in biblical interpretation. His name is Daniel Fernandez. He was the youth pastor at the time. And he just, for 7 Mondays, he was like 6 a.m. Monday at Starbucks. For the next 7 Mondays, I'm going to teach you how to interpret scripture. And he walked me through the whole flow, and it changed my life. I read the Bible, and this is 4 or 5 years of me after being saved. So it's almost like I got recalled, or you're not going to get saved twice, but it's almost like I got baptized into the calling, and I think it just came from a place of illuminating things. And so I started, it wasn't like, it's kind of like when you say, I never read a book on pastoring people. I never went to college. People are like, dude, how do you become a pastor? I'm like, I don't even know if I have that framework, because all I did was shepherd. I cared, and I wasn't doing it because I never had a title. For majority of the time, I didn't have a title. And
the Bible doesn't have like a checklist,
right? No, yeah. And then when at the end of Matthew, when Jesus says, go and make disciples, he left it up to our interpretation.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's why there's so many ways that you can do that. And that's why it's a beautiful thing to see the diversity of church and the different ways we can reach the world. However, I just started, overseeing small groups.
Yeah.
And I think the fruit of that, the consistency, and then, Pastor Jabin talked with the board, and they all agreed. It was, so I probably I operated in the role, and that's what it should be. That's what's unfortunate about people who do go to college or do get the certification, and then they get commissioned into that office. Unfortunately, sometimes without the heart, without the actual call, you just thought it was a good idea. But I mean, like that, I'm not here to judge or anything. I just there's sometimes that is a situation that pans out. And so, yeah, mine is unique in nature. I know there's certain denominations that have different things that you need to, like one guy you had me golf with, a friend, and it was like, had to be a year and a half ago. I just got ordained. Maybe.
I made you golf with them? How do I make people golf?
You're like, hey, you guys are sitting together. You're both pastors. Or he was on track. And you know, I was just talking because I come from
we were doing a golf with Ryan Day together.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
But he's an old friend of yours. I don't know. Sorry,
man, I'm trying to.
Dang,
I can't remember.
Hopefully he's not watching. No, just kidding.
I can't.
No,
remember.
But you know, he was like asking me what I did to become a pastor, and I just told him kind of like that backstory. I just started caring for people, oversaw small groups and community.
Oh, you know what? You might be talking about my friend Chris.
Probably.
Big beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was in the process, and he was
he's in the process. He's actually he's now on staff.
Yeah.
Yep. He's at Hope.
I had to write this thesis. I had to present it in front of a thing.
Let me tell you, Chris could not do anything in college. That's where we met. We met in college, and like he dropped out because he just didn't go to class. He was terrible. And that's how I know God is real.
Won't he do it?
He figured out how to write a thesis, and I'm like, no way.
And I think present it in front of a board.
Yeah.
And then
he couldn't do that if he tried.
Yeah.
Only through the power of God could he have did that.
That's really cool.
Not a diss to him, but all glory to God.
He is a testament of God's faithfulness.
He is 1,000% a testament.
Hey, man, when I look at you, you remind me I can do it.
That's what I tell people all the time with Brian Davila. I'm like, if Brian Davila could get 100,000 followers, you can too.
That's funny, dude. But yeah, I mean, but it's a beautiful thing. You know, now I get the honor to communicate on the weekends occasionally. And,
you're great. I've seen you speak many times.
Yeah,
that's great.
You know, you back to like when me doing what I do during the week, it affords me the ability to oversee groups in a cool way. Dude, we have over 90 small group leaders. Our church isn't massive.
Yeah.
And most churches that would be bigger than us wouldn't have like a leadership small group culture like that. But it just, I would just, from a place of overflow, I was able to nurture and lead that ministry. And it's been really cool to see it be really a part of the DNA of the church.
Yeah. Well, I think like this goes back to content as well. What we were talking about, like, oh man, I got to be like so qualified and I got to do all this stuff. And it's like, nah, you know, I was actually hyping up our small group leaders at Wealthy Kingdom. For those who don't know, we have a Christian entrepreneurship group called Wealthy Kingdom. And so we had like 30 plus people who are already like committed to being small group leaders across the country.
Wow.
So we're going to launch these Bible studies just everywhere. We've only been going for a month, you know, like we're rolling. And I was like, look, a lot of you guys probably don't feel like you're qualified to do this. You know, you might, I'm pretty sure like most of you never went to seminary school. Most of you probably have never led a Bible study. You know, you probably feel like, man, do I got to know all the answers? If somebody asks me a difficult question, what do I do, right? And I was like, but here's the thing, guys. You know, God, you know, didn't just only pick qualified people. He just called people. Like, he didn't go for just, nobody was qualified. He was like, you're called. So when you're called, you just have to go. And there's no other thing about it.
Yeah, there's that saying that God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called.
There it is.
Yeah.
There's another saying.
Yeah. But no, it's real. Like a lot of people's hang up, even when we ask people, we invite our church to, you know, consider leading a group. That's the first thing. Dang, I don't know enough Bible. There are some foundational things that, yes, we should be non-negotiable. But as far as like your, you know, spiritual ascension and knowledge, the Bible says knowledge just puffs up. So I would even if you memorized the Bible from cover to cover, it honestly doesn't mean much. You know, it's still, it still could be void of what we're really called to do, which is love God, love people.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it simple.
Matthew 22, I think.
Bang.
I think.
I'm sure it's there too.
I'm sure it's there.
Says the Bible expert.
Someone fact check me, put the B-roll on here. I think it's Matthew 22, 18 through 20, if I had to guess. Just guessing.
Boils it down.
Okay. But nonetheless, I think, obviously we're talking about faith, but like the same thing is applicable to just what we're talking about with social media and everything else. Like you're not going to be qualified because obviously if you were, you'd be Omar, you'd be me, like you'd have already done it. Right. And then even then I feel like I'm still not even qualified. I'm like, well, I don't have 1 million subscribers yet. Like I got to get there, but even then Mr. Beast has 100 million. You just end up playing the comparison game. Right. And you're like, no, actually I am qualified. I've done some amazing things to this point.
Yeah.
You've done some amazing things to this point. As long as you're further ahead in your journey than somebody else, they have something to learn.
100. You know what's funny? I went to 10X for here in Vegas a couple months ago, and Tom Brady was being interviewed. You know what's funny? Like the 10X conference, it's a big video podcast on stage.
Yeah.
But no, Tom Brady signed a gnarly deal with like Fox.
It's like $35 million a year.
Yeah, he's gonna make more talking for a couple hours on a Sunday than suiting up, putting his body on the line. Yeah, training years and years, beating on his body. And that's just something that, it's almost like a principle is most of the time we'll spend most of our life being underpaid. And there are instances where later you'll be overpaid. And you have to go through those underpaid seasons where you feel like, like this doesn't make sense, counting the costs, all these things. But you just do that over time. And then over time, it's just all it takes is it could be one deal. You know? And it's crazy. And he actually was saying how, like, I think out of all the years I played football, this is more influential because now my voice is going to be in the ears of America.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take that lightly, but it's
social media.
Yeah, 100.
Well, and that's also too, I've thought about that a lot with my baseball career, and Grant was interviewing me on his podcast, and he's like, wow, it's a blessing that you didn't make it, right? Because you have this now. And he's like, you're making a lot more money than you would have made over there, and you can do it forever. And it's like, yeah. And you just think about it and you're like, yeah, if let's just say theoretically I did, continue playing baseball and I dominated and it was enough to do really well. It's like, man, I'm definitely not like impacting people at the way I'm impacting them now. Like I'm just entertaining people. Like I'm just playing a game and like, I could make money and then impact people that way. But like what I do here right now is far more impactful than what I could have ever did playing baseball, which is what Tom is basically saying.
Right. Question for you, and there's no wrong answer. Is professional sports jaded or fixed sometimes?
Jaded or fixed? What do you mean?
Like, sometimes I watch series go to game 7.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have gone to game 7.
So are you saying like it's just scripted, essentially?
Yeah, I mean.
No, I mean, I think that everything's legit. I think that conspiracy theory wise,
because everything's a business. I understand more games equals.
Yeah. I think conspiracy wise, you do see it like in the NBA, like the refs start to give the other team more calls to keep it close. Like that always happens. I think that, I don't know, certain leagues or certain things. I mean, obviously in the minor leagues, none of that stuff happened. Like nobody cared. But I don't know. I think there's definitely an element to how they train the referees and because it's not the players. That I know.
Right.
Like I know the players are not letting up unless they actually were like getting paid or something. But like in all things, you're not letting up. You're just playing because, I'm trying to improve my stats. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to I'm not going to just go miss shots and strike out for no reason. So yeah, I don't think the players do anything, but I for sure think the umpires and referees and things can manipulate.
That's good to know. Just wanted to know your thoughts. Your opinion. Random.
That is
as
random.
A former athletic. Shout out to the A's coming out.
Yeah. First off, I'm still an athlete. Okay?
Yeah, there you are. You're professional. You're a professional golfer too.
I didn't want to bring it up, but you did. Okay. I am a professional golfer.
I'm a Bible expert. You're a professional golfer.
Yes, of course.
One thing I was thinking about, I was talking to my buddy Tall Fishman. He's got 15 million subs on YouTube. And dude who's legit, he actually is the one who introduced me to what Snapchat's doing with Snap Shows, which once again, it's vertical video. They are paying creators a bunch of money. So I just got a new Snap Show. By the time this airs, maybe it'll already be going. We'll see how it goes with
views and making money and stuff. But him and I were talking about it, and he was like, there might one day be a world where like we watch everything vertically. And he's like, could you imagine going to a movie with a vertical screen, or like your TV's in your house and it's vertical? And I was like, I could see it. Like, I don't think like it would happen overnight, but it wouldn't surprise me if like YouTube stopped going horizontal focused and was like, hey, make your 10-minute videos vertical.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
No, and he wasn't saying
But-
he believes that's going to happen.
Oh, gotcha.
He's like, it could happen.
But I mean, even I would say I disagree, but I see the logic, and this is where I would come from, would be, of course, I think the film, the movie theater experience, the TV, but I've almost become somewhat blind to vertical video. And one of the things my family loves to do now, I've got an 11-week-old, a 2-year-old, and then my wife and our Chihuahua and me. So the 5 of us, if we agree on content we watch together, and this is funny, all the way from my 11-week-old up, there's the content we love to watch together that keeps everybody engaged is Fail Army. So it's and you've probably seen it before, Fail Blog. It's just, like cars that crash, people slip, and just compilations of weird, the roof breaks, an animal jumps, just like kind of funny, quick. And the majority of it, it's kind of like America's Funniest Home Videos in a modern world where there's people who repurpose it and just kind of take clips from the internet and they build like automation channels about it. But I think Fail Army actually gets clips submitted. And the majority of the clips are vertical, right? And this is a massive thing on YouTube. There's so much YouTube content that are the best TikToks, the funniest TikToks.
Yeah, compilations.
The
Yeah.
compilations. And we're watching this on a smart TV. So the majority of the frame is empty,
Yeah.
but like we're blind to it. Like I don't notice it. Like it's still funny. It's huge. The smart TV, it's bigger than my phone, and you're used to watching it on your phone. So it is interesting that the content, I would agree with that I think vertical video is a thing for real. It's also interesting that IGTV failed and they shut it down. And for a while, some people went all in, like, I'm going to be a vertical video filmmaker. Like, I'm going to try to like create, and I don't want to talk anybody out of anything. Like, if that works, maybe we'll see one of the greatest documentary filmmakers or vloggers in the future, like really crush vertical. And there's been some of those that made really artistic things. But I think vertical video lends itself most to that like TikTok conversation, quick clips, Yeah,
maybe one day your TV will swivel,
and some do.
I know, and it'll just be like, all right, I'm going to watch this kind of content now. And
especially because you can also cast. So if you were to realize like you actually just want to experience TikTok on full screen, which sounds like a nightmare, actually, that just make it worse. But ultimately, that maybe you get nice TV, it does it electronically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys are watching crash shows. I'm over here. I've been watching Superbook the last however many years.
Nice.
Like literally nonstop.
So funny.
My son loves, and now, so my son only watched Superbook for years, and he still only watches Superbook. Nothing else, literally nothing else. And my daughter never cared about TV or anything, so she was just like, whatever. Now she's 2.5, and she's discovered Cocomelon and Baby Shark and Moana and stuff. And so she wants the control. He wants the control. It's not easy now.
I live that Cocomelon life and Baby Shark. That's our jam.
Yep.
The techno version. There's one that has
There's like an EDM version.
Yeah, the EDM version.
It's all just
Yep. So funny.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, business wise, people don't really know what you do. I mean, they see Think Media, they see you guys are making helpful videos, but I know behind the scenes. You obviously got your book. I spoke at your big event, Growth Video Live. You guys had like, how many people were there? 800?
Yeah, 800 people. We ended up, it was like 1,200 tickets sold.
Yeah.
People happy, and only 800 got in the room.
Yeah. So, you had Growth Video Live here in Vegas where you had Patrick, me, Hormozy, and a bunch of other big names. And then you have all of your training at
Yep.
Think Media. What specifically are you guys training people on?
Yeah. So, I mean, our core product is called Video Ranking Academy, and it's our YouTube course, and kind of our proprietary process is most relevant for this audience. If there's two big categories on YouTube, there's entertainment and education. Of course, there's the hybrid of that. Any educator is best if they can be entertaining. I think, Andre Jick, I was just in the sauna with him yesterday, on his show or whatever. And,
He has his shows in the sauna.
yeah, it's called Don't Sweat It. And
I didn't know he had a podcast.
he just started it, and
Oh.
it's in a sauna for 45 minutes, and it gets hotter. and then you do the cool down. So it's about a 90-minute conversation. And his co-host,
Are you guys
Jen-
naked?
Yeah, completely naked.
Sweet.
It's that's what my wife asked too. I go, yeah, I'm going on this podcast tomorrow in a sauna with a guy, and she goes, "What? Who's this guy? Why does he want you in a sauna?" And I was like, and then I showed her and she's like, "Oh, people are like wearing a t-shirt and
But could I go on it naked? Like, I don't feel comfortable in a sauna wearing clothes.
I think he would let you.
All right.
I mean, it is kind of like waist up. So whatever's happened downtown,
Down below, I
you're
can do
good.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think that'd be a lot more entertaining for the whole crew. All that to say, Andre, he's kind of that edutainment
Yeah.
perfect example of that, especially too if he's combining magic and personal finance. But we typically really help educators, and like yourself, people that are in real estate, with a lot of loan officers, real estate officers, tax professionals, personal finance people with gardening. And so our course, Video Ranking Academy, we have a 7R process, and that is, it's really the power of evergreen content. We would push people towards, sure, you can go viral, and we have all those strategies in there. But I like the slow and steady win strategy, creating search-based videos. In a 2023 world, you'd call these intent-based videos that are evergreen. I grew up in Seattle, so we had evergreen trees. That's what it means. They were green summer, spring, winter, fall. If there was snow on the ground, the trees still had, they're still green. So evergreen videos are education videos, teaching something. People are searching for them by typing in search, or they're just expressing their intent. As soon as someone is like trying to figure out how to flip homes, they search for how to flip homes, maybe even on Google, because Google, and it's connected to YouTube. Then they go to YouTube, and on their homepage, YouTube starts recommending them things.
Because they know.
Because they start seeing, that person's intent is to learn how to flip homes. So if you're organizing videos around all these different topics, how do I get started? Tips for beginners. How do I raise money? How do I get my first deal? And so really making strategic videos and then connecting them to smart monetization strategies. And one of the ways to start for new creators that have no product, maybe have no business, would be affiliate marketing. Because if you could get in front of strategic questions and connect it to somebody else's affiliate offer, you don't got to ship it yourself, do anything yourself. You're in a very leveraged place. The case examples of that in my early days, yes, it was tech and cameras, but I did a video on green juice powder. It was called Organifi, that I like to take when traveling, and I positioned it right, did some keyword research, and I made like $20,000 as that video just sits there, keeps getting found. Someone clicks my
On the
link.
AdSense?
On
Or
the
the affiliate? The affiliate
probably,
marketing.
only probably 4,000 on the AdSense.
The affiliate killed it.
I did a kit of a budget LED light and made $32,000 on one video, 4,000 on ad revenue, and about 28,000 in Amazon affiliate commissions. Not just, and you only get 4%, but if the video keeps being viewed, and that's over that was since December 2019. And so in about 3 years, the video will make close to 40 grand. And that's on the higher side of what one video could do. Again, didn't create a course, didn't have to call a seller, cold call somebody, or send out a mailer, like just pure online arbitrage, really, of getting of creating content and being in the middle of AdSense and affiliate marketing and understanding audiences and human psychology. So all that to say, that's we went deep off the question of all the things we do at Think Media, but our core product over the years is Video Ranking Academy. We keep improving it, and we've seen just so many people have a lot of success. And for some business owners, creating extra income streams, because maybe you're even a local agent, you start thinking different about referral business. You start thinking different about, you know, how you can maybe even have a channel memberships or a membership kind of a thing because of the information you're giving out, referring people state to state, which would be essentially be kind of like affiliate marketing itself.
Yeah. Affiliates are such a great income stream. You know, in my businesses, we never really like pushed affiliate marketing with, you know, the customers or students in the business. And even though they could make good money doing it, like we just never were pushy about it. But the more that like I've been in business and seen it, the more I'm like, dude, people should do affiliate marketing way more.
Yeah.
Right. Like for you guys, you're doing so many reviews on equipment, like put your link in and make an affiliate. Like you caused the sale.
Yep.
And then, you know, even for like our students, I tell them all the time, if you're flipping houses and you're talking about it and people are asking you how to flip, you know, shoot them over to us. You'll make an affiliate commission. Same thing with Content Empire. You know, if people are asking you why you're making content now, tell them and make a commission. Like it's just a win-win for everybody to do affiliate.
Yeah. And I think for like a startup entrepreneur that's trying to figure out their hustle and make 5, 10, 15K a month by themselves, like you get positioned right with affiliate, that would be all you need. Sending traffic to your stuff, you know, creating really valuable content, building trust, building goodwill, taking care of people, but finding affiliate programs you believe in. It is a massive opportunity. And what I like about it is on YouTube, it's highly leveraged, meaning you've got the peace of mind that if you rank a video, hence our program, Video Ranking Academy, and you make the video once, you make the video today, and 6 months later, 9 months later, 12 months later, it's still bringing in money. Oh, cool. Another sale came through. Oh, cool. Because it's being suggested by the YouTube algorithm, or people are finding it in search. So depending on what your ambition is, this is real passive income. Some people hate on passive income. I'm like, you know, and they are critical of it, but I'm making some serious passive income. I'm like, all I know is
how much do you think you make a month from affiliate marketing?
We make on Amazon every year, so you could break down the monthly, something like $350, I think, $1,000.
It's like 30 grand a month, just putting links.
It's probably 20 to 30,000 on Amazon, but then it goes deeper. We have B&H Photo, Adobe for software, Epidemic Sound is a big one, vidIQ software is a big one. You know, I think also a lot of people don't realize how much, I know for guys like Graham and Andre, they have brand deals where they send people to like Publix or like
well, I don't know how many more they're going to do of those.
Yeah,
for
sure.
For FTX,
it's pretty bumpy road over the last couple of weeks, but those are some of the highest affiliate paying programs would be exchanges, SaaS software. In fact, affiliate marketing is one of the ways that SaaS, software as a service companies, scale. So whether that's Epidemic Sound, vidIQ, and so those can be. And if you think about it, their margins are also easier than a physical product. It's hard for Amazon's got their cut on a Canon camera. Canon has the hard cost of it. My friend Guy has a place called DVE Store in Everett, Washington. And he just even talked about, I told him that Amazon pays me 4% on a camera. And he was shocked. He was like, I don't even know how I can make money. So even just the margins on a physical product versus if you get behind software, subscription, other people's online courses, other people's coaching. A lot of times in the industry, people will give you 50-50 on like an online course that you promote for someone else. So yeah, affiliate marketing it's the way I was originally able to reach financial freedom or I don't know about financial freedom, but to completely replace my income, build a 6-figure income, was making videos, ranking videos, and connecting them to different affiliate programs.
Yeah, that's the cool thing, man, because to your point, a lot of people think they got to have a business and a product to push people to. And even though, you know, if you know how to run business, yes, that is the way to go, right? It's the reason I don't really do sponsors or anything. I'm like, I am my sponsor. Like I'll make way more promoting my own thing than I would promoting somebody else's thing. But nonetheless, not many people have, you know, well-oiled businesses that can handle that, and they still have time to make content. It's like rare. So to that end, if you're very passionate about making videos and creating content, and you're sitting here like, yeah, I want to make this content and I want to build my personal brand and influence, but I don't really have anything to sell them. It's like, dude, no, affiliates are a great thing to sell. Like if you're in the real estate niche and you have nothing to sell them in real estate, sell them Future Flipper. Like we'll pay you, right? I had a guy reach out to me the other day. He's like, hey, I really like what you're doing with Content Empire. I want to write a blog post about it. Can I like get an affiliate link and I'll do the blog? And I'm like, sure. Doesn't cost me any work or time or anything. Like it's a customer I probably wouldn't have got. Like we're going to pay marketing anyway, one way or another. It's no different to me.
Yeah. I think actually just giving listeners a business model too. I heard Tony and Dean put it this way. There's the knowledge broker, the reporter, and then the results expert. And this could be the journey. This is how anybody could get started. So originally when you're the knowledge broker, you would say like, you shouldn't create an online course about real estate. You haven't done it. You've done it. So you're the knowledge broker of Future Flipper. So you create content. How do you do that? You become the reporter. And that would be the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich model. Like people doing interviews of experts and then sharing their tips is not new. Best-selling personal development book, Napoleon Hill did not have the results himself. He went to the moguls of his day and he started an interview show. So one of even the most popular things, powerful things you could do is you could start a YouTube channel, start a video podcast, start interviewing experts, be an affiliate for their programs because you're a knowledge broker. And then the cool thing about that, as you get better at that, chop up that content, start dominating social media. You could do this by yourself. And if you're super hungry, you want to quit your 9-to-5 and you hate your day job, you can start chipping away at this on the side. But then what happens as you're the knowledge broker and then eventually the reporter is you eventually can become the results expert. Because if you are also learning and applying what you're learning, you now are having to figure out business. This has kind of been my journey. Like I now have 22, 24 W-2 employees, 10 contractors, taxes, P&Ls, HR. So I've had to actually build a real business, learn the skill sets of being a CEO. It's a journey. And so not getting ahead of your depth of trying to even be an expert. You don't have to be an expert. You can just be a reporter. And you can learn from others and monetize in the journey. And then eventually maybe you hone in your expertise and start building your own stuff. So really before you ever build, I think, your own product, the opportunity is to promote somebody else's, or to do something on Amazon or somewhere else and use that season. This is pretty cool because it's a win-win. You can monetize and make money while you're also getting your own personal development and learning and what you're learning from all the relationships and the conversations you're having. That's probably one of the best business models in kind of the new economy that we're living in right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think everything you said spot on. And even when I look at some of the biggest guys today, these like big podcasters who it's like, they don't really teach things themselves, but they're really good at just getting great guests and experts. Like, I was going to say Lewis Howes could be a good example of this. I mean, Lewis is a buddy of mine and I know he does some teaching, but I mean, he's really known for just getting great guests and great experts and people of all different professions. And he's just great at interviewing them and pulling out information and, all that stuff. And I think Tim Ferriss, another guy who's done that really well and just bringing people on, consolidating the knowledge and the experts. It's not like Tim has to go on his show and just like come up with content every day. Like he's just good at brokering knowledge.
100%.
Yeah. And I've kind of thought about that too with my stuff where I'm like, yeah, I make a lot of videos where I am the knowledge and I am going to tell you whatever I'm training you on. And then I love bringing guys like you on where I'm like, yeah, I mean, I obviously understand YouTube too, but I'm not the guy with 2 million, 3 million subscribers, right? I want to hear what you have to say. And as a guy trying to get better, I want to like pick your brain and all that. So I think to your point, you can be a hybrid.
You could be both.
Yeah.
And it would be smart to keep doing them all because you keep sharpening the saw, you keep getting better. And that's the ultimate hack.
Well, the good thing about the podcast is it allows you to do that, right? Because if I just have like a TikTok and I'm like, hey, Sean, and I'm a nobody, right? Like, do a TikTok with me. You're like,
yeah,
you know, dude, I don't have time to like go meet you and do a TikTok. But, you know, if I have a podcast and it's doing well, I'm like, hey, Sean, come on my podcast. And sure enough, like it can be a complete win-win because, you know, you're going to come here and get some exposure for whatever it is you want to talk about. And I can also get you more exposure by chopping it up into reels and TikToks. And it's going to be just great all the way around. So that's how I get, you know, people like Cardone, who was just in that seat. He's like, yeah, this is good for my brand. And like, you know, I'm not, he didn't charge me anything. It's just like, it's a win-win. And for me, I get to go interview the best people in their fields, you know, and get to build relationships and know them, and all because of podcasts. I don't think you really get that with just reels or even like 5-10 minute YouTubes. It's the podcast that really happens.
For sure. It's such a thing. I mean, and I think what the big objection I'm sure listeners could feel is like, man, but it feels like there's so much competition and it feels like it's too late. And, you know, but it's number one, I really believe that saturation is a myth. We need to understand, we just crossed at the time of recording, we just crossed a threshold on the earth of 8 billion humans alive.
Yeah.
And 2.6 billion monthly active users on YouTube. I think if you can find a unique niche, you can find something different.
Is YouTube the biggest at 2.6?
Facebook's a little bit bigger, but some stats show that YouTube's actually bigger in terms of like consumption, like active users and people coming on the website. Like I think if you go, YouTube's the second biggest website. I think Google gets the most traffic.
I know TikTok had the highest watch time.
Yeah, and that metric was a little skewed because it was for like among Gen Z, they watch 26 minutes a day, and YouTube watches 23 minutes a day. But also, there's a lot less baby boomers on TikTok, if any. Whereas there's a lot of baby boomers and Gen X on YouTube, and that goes back to the quality of the audience. The CMO of HubSpot said the most valuable subscribers on the internet are YouTube subscribers, and he's exactly right. When it comes to how YouTube pays for monetization, when it comes to people who take action, when it comes to people who want to learn. What I've heard others say that too, also even podcast subscribers are also various people as well. They're learners. They're going to stick with it. They're working
People who
out.
listen to podcasts are a totally different breed of people.
They are. And so, and YouTube is a mix, but they're the most valuable subscribers because, again, they're taking action. If they're already searching to learn something there, they might go deeper in education somewhere else. And so TikTok, of course, that's not to, I'm not even putting TikTok down. It's just really understanding the different platforms. TikTok, you're going to get a lot of people who just want to binge absolute garbage, you know, and just that are looking for that like kind of mind-numbing entertainment or just that random kind of stuff. And yes, some people want to go there to learn, but even the sheer nature of the content, it's kind of like the difference between someone who will buy a book and someone who doesn't even like reading. I mean, I respect whatever people are saying, but there is something to say about depth, reading an entire book, listening to an audiobook versus just reading a blog post or reading a tweet. It's about substance. Podcast listeners, for sure, those are more serious people. And what you will see to that point, I'm talking about higher net worth individuals. So in terms of buying power, a TikTok audience is way different than Gen X or baby boomers consuming content on YouTube. Of course, millennials, but you're going to get it. YouTube it's by far the dominant video platform if you add up all the metrics that matter. Sure, maybe from an impressions or view standpoint, TikTok should not be ignored, but it's clear who the king is when you really look underneath the surface.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking at what YouTube's doing with, you know, and everyone's got YouTube handles now. You know, they're trying to make it more personal. They finally have figured out the feed, and, you know, the shorts are separated. The long videos are separated. You know, like you brought up earlier, they're creating like a whole new section for podcast because they want to really compete with Spotify and Apple Podcast. And, you know, the only thing they lack right now are the ability to DM. And somebody told me that's what they're working on, right? So they're definitely trying to keep their throne because I think definitely short form the last couple of years really spooked them because they never took it serious and it came out of nowhere.
Yep, I completely agree. It's a force to be reckoned with and owned by Google, I think, and Alphabet being absolutely massive. Again, TikTok should not be ignored, but it also kind of feels like a little bit of fragile territory. I know people are saying it might get shut down. That's a real possibility.
Yeah.
And that's where I go too. for the risk averse, or rather, I wouldn't even say risk averse, like maybe the entrepreneur that's moving a little bit too much in fear, they might be like, oh, I don't want to invest in TikTok and vertical video because what if it gets shut down? But my question is, you're not investing in TikTok, you're investing in vertical video. And so who cares if it gets shut down? You get some reach today, but you also have Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels,
You're still gonna make them.
YouTube Shorts. And so look at the bigger upside. And you, I love your real estate advice too. You're like, I'm going to make money in an up market and a down market. We're on offense here, not defense here. And so why we could just sit on the sidelines. What if TikTok gets shut down? Well, why don't we maximize it for especially the next 2 years? Because probably the current administration, it probably won't. Maybe something changes. That's a lot of maybes to sit on the sidelines. You definitely just want to get in the game and always move in faith and offense, not fear and defense.
Yeah, I mean, and also too, it's mainly just an excuse. It's
Yeah.
just like you make the videos and post them everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for sure, like meanwhile, someone will say, oh, I'm just waiting. What if it gets shut down? Well, maybe it gets shut down a year from now, but between now and the next year, we're going to make hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So yeah, by the way, it would be incredibly discouraging to build up a following, build up that fan base and lose it all.
Yeah.
I get it, like for sure. But again, nobody knows the future. So might as well maximize while you can.
They did it in India. And I remember when I first started on TikTok, I had a lot of followers from India. It was super random. But I mean, like they were the biggest like country on TikTok at the time and they banned it. And then I just saw, I was like, huh, they're gone.
It's crazy. Yeah, it could happen. It is very interesting world we're living in for sure.
Yeah. Well, bro, it's always good hanging out with you, man. I think everyone needs to go cop the new YouTube secrets. They need to go embrace video. If you're an entrepreneur and you're not making content, I don't know what you're doing. But dude, thanks for all the updates and for all the strategies, man.
I appreciate you, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
One of the questions I get from people is like, do you have to be good looking? Do you have to be, all of these things? And you actually revealed something to me that is really crazy about that. But before we go into that, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. So tell me about this beauty filter. I did not know this was a real thing.
Well, so again, there's a lot. TikTok has a lot of conspiracy theories,
Yeah.
things that may or may not be a thing. But I do know from some very knowledgeable, well-connected people, because when you start running the accounts that I manage, and you start, like I've talked to people, and you kind of get some insider knowledge. I was become aware of what they call a beautification filter, or a beautification algorithm, if you will, that basically prioritizes attractive people and attractive qualities to get more views on TikTok. And you've heard people talk about this before, and there's actually a term on TikTok. It's called #prettyprivilege, which is a real thing, even though I like to...
It's a real thing in the world. It ain't just TikTok.
But TikTok was obviously Musical.ly before TikTok, and it was owned by ByteDance, was a Chinese company. But ByteDance had other apps prior to Musical.ly that were very open about the fact that they had beautification filters.
That's great.
So if they had it then, and they made TikTok, my guess is it's there, and we've seen it. Like, I mean, I have a lot more views than I have followers. Now, I try to take care of myself. Maybe I am just not hacking it enough in the TikTok algorithm to be as beautiful as what they want to show for mega virality. But I would bet every bit of money that my company makes that there is an algorithm that prioritizes attractive features. And whether that be for males, like sharper jawlines, good teeth, nice hair, thinner faces, muscular frames.
I just am so curious how the algorithm can judge that.
Oh, it's scary.
It's so crazy.
There's a lot of scary things. Like TikTok is very intuitive with what they can pick up and stuff. I mean, you see it a lot with, what is kind of, now non-existent politically on TikTok's platform. But, if you're wearing specific shirts that say things,
Yeah.
you'll get flagged.
Well, it's like the chicken before the egg, because it's like, well, were beautiful people just getting more views because they're beautiful and like people watch them more? Or is it the algorithms giving them an extra boost on top of that, already happening?
I think it's an extra boost because there are outliers and there are people
there are normal looking people who do great.
Yeah, I think good content will far
than being hot.
Yeah, if you're hot with no substance, you're gonna get views maybe once or twice, but then you're not gonna continue to be shown. Like and that's I think why TikTok, like they'll blow up your second or third video. I think it's just to fuck with people, like, just to be like,
Just to get them
yeah,
hooked.
yeah, you're hooked. Like, and I think the creator of TikTok, I forget
It's
his name,
smart.
like he's openly admitted that we like to keep people coming back. So, I mean, it makes sense. Like people, you see it in society, you see it in the real world. People, it's like, I mean, you live in Vegas, which is fueled by vanity.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's everywhere. And like, I think people are a little short-sighted if they don't just admit that it's there and work to their best to kind of hack that. Like, yeah, generally speaking, like I know firsthand that if I don't have sleeves on my shirts and I wear short shorts, like from the brands Chubbies and like certain companies, I get more views. Like I might not have it in the facial category, but maybe I got it in the physique category. But it's, these things are like, I mean, I'm just curious about stuff like that.
Dude, now that you're bringing that part up, I remember I had a couple of million view videos where I had a tank top on just doing the stupid point videos. And I'm like, why did that video get 1 million views? That was weird.
Yeah, I would say that it's your physique and the tank top.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? I'm filming these podcasts in a tank top from now on. We got to increase our chances.
I was going to, but I was like, I'll just go a little more. You have a higher end audience. I didn't want to like just come at this looking like a frat guy, like because that's another thing too. But with those with the views comes those terminologies. Like I've been called a Chad.
Yeah.
I had to look that up. I'm like, I'm 38. I don't even know what the fuck a Chad is. It's like, oh fuck, I'm a Chad. All right, cool. I don't see why it's a bad thing, honestly. It's just a sexually attractive alpha male type. I'm like, that sounds pretty fucking cool. So, but yeah, the comments on TikTok they're always interesting.
They're like, you're a boomer, dude.
Yeah,
They got everything.
They got everything.
So speaking of that, quality of followers, you see these guys with millions and millions of followers, but they're not making money, right? And then I've thought about this with our content. I'm like, okay, we're pretty much just taking stuff I talk about. I'm not like creating anything. You guys are repurposing things I already say. And, at the end of the day, whatever I say, but I just know it's true to me. And so whoever follows me is getting something authentic to me. But then, there's the trends and all these skits and things that people do. And I'm like, man, those get millions. Should I start doing skits? But then it's like, these skits don't even, I don't see an end game with them other than followers that don't really maybe care about your other stuff.
We've never, as a company, and I myself have never done a trend or a skit or even cared about a hashtag. And as a company who's working now with almost 30 clients, like I can't scale a trend, a hashtag, or a skit. I can't hit you up and say, yo, Ryan, I need you to film this video right now.
I'm like, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I'm golfing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, okay. So the hack for that we, is, okay, topics. Like, how do we scale topics and things that are being talked about? But I think that doing the skits and all that, like, yeah, they're going to drive views. Like, if it's popular on TikTok, you're probably going to get more views on that video. But it's not because of you. It's not because of what you're saying. It's because TikTok's feeding the algorithm with stuff, like people that are doing that skit.
People are concerned about the skit. They're not, it's not you.
And, and from an influence standpoint, like I came into TikTok with like, I'm going to make a lot of money from this. Like that was my goal from day one.
Right.
Like I have a lot of information to share. I have a lot of value I can bring. But at the end of the day, like I'm going to build a business around this. And I think, people lack that when they, especially on TikTok, they just fell into TikTok. A lot of really attractive people have gotten very big followings, and now they're just trying to figure out the monetization aspect. But one of the biggest keys to monetization on any platform is just you have to build influence, and you don't build influence unless you talk.
Right.
So the lip syncing and the musics and the dances, like, yeah, they're
reposting other people's videos and motivation. They don't do anything.
Yeah, unless you speak and you build a connection with the audience of people like, that can know, like, and trust you, then you're not going to be able to sell them anything or get them to buy anything. And that's the key. Like brands, at some point, like right now, brands are focused on driving views on TikTok. Like we got confirmation of that from one of our reps that we work with. All brands are throwing a lot of money at just like exposure. They want exposure on TikTok. But at some point that's going to shift. Just like it did on Instagram, where people are just like, well, now we want to track everything. Like, we need to find the quality influencers and not just the ones that can make a 1 million viewed video. Because if you can make a 1 million viewed video and get them exposure, cool, that's one. But if you can drive 1,000 sales.
Oh, well, and I'll tell you just from that, I've done a lot of brand deals for TikTok Reels and stuff. And, I've got a good following, but, we're not getting millions and millions of views like these other guys. But I do know for a fact I'm getting paid to the level that these guys with millions and millions are getting just because they look at quality.
Mm-hmm. And you're also building a customer base of people that trust you from the level of not only do they watch your content and they tune in, but they've invested something in you. They're now on a customer email list. They're getting more personal attention from you in some way, shape, or form, whether that be a course or mentorship or calls or in-person events. Like, that's building a business,
Right.
And, if you fall on the price points, which I know you fall on because we see a lot of your stuff, like it doesn't take as much as like I would assume people think to really make a sizable living doing it. It's just also there is a balance, especially on TikTok, of selling versus not selling and providing value and providing value, which is TikTok is one of the harder platforms, I think, from that aspect to monetize.
TikTok is much harder to sell on. We recently, I think at this point, we don't even really sell on TikTok. Like, they're just pretty much just value content. And the hope is that they find me or my companies through the other social media platforms. And because it is hard to sell on TikTok, like DMing there is a mess.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And, they're a lower age and just the quality of followers. So it's significantly less than a Instagram follower or a YouTube subscriber or something like that. So I've just made the decision. I'm like, I don't even need to sell on TikTok. Like, let them find my others. They'll find it themselves, the people who want to buy.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to it's an attention play for most people, especially like nobody's going to grow anywhere else right now except for on TikTok or, I don't want to discredit Reels because you can grow really fast on there too. But from an algorithmic standpoint, to come into YouTube right now and grow is significantly harder.
Way harder.
Like,
and making the videos harder.
Yeah, and I tell people, like, get to 100K on TikTok. Like, that's what we tell my clients. I'm like, let's get you to 100K, and then we'll worry about where to send those 100K. Because once you have that top of funnel, you can start siphoning people elsewhere. Like, and it happens by nature. Like, I have like 87,000 right now on my personal TikTok. But, I have a lot of people on my Instagram that if I was selling something, I would probably sell a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't sell anything because I'm just targeting people with businesses that are like, hey, I don't want to do this. I like the quality work that you make. So for me, it's like I have the privilege of not having to sell anything.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Knowing your clients and everything else. Like, people listening to this, they might be like, dude, I want to work with you. Like, what's that look like? And I'll tell you guys, it's not cheap, right? Like, it's the things we're talking about require a lot of time, expertise, all those things. And I would say most of the people that you probably get are business people, like you said, because they have a way to monetize the cost of creating that content. Whereas other people who are just trying to build their personal brand, they don't have the budget to be able to afford it. Nor is it a client you really want, right? Like, you want higher level business people and stuff. Like, you got to know your audience, or your customers, I should say. But out of all these people you're getting, I'm curious, like, how many of them are creating content and sending it to you versus me, where I'm creating long form and you guys are picking at it?
It's right now, it's about I would say 80-20, 80% film directly for platform, 20% repurpose.
Really?
Yeah. And I will, full transparency, the repurposing from a company standpoint and a time standpoint,
It's way harder.
Is way harder. And there's a lot of limiting factors to, for me, what I try to do, and this is like a company goal that we've kind of set, is within 30 days, we want to get you your first 1 million view video. Like, that's like, when we don't do that, I have to figure out why, and to do that, we're limited with a repurposing client. We're limited to what's already out there. Thankfully, somebody like you or some of my other clients have massive archives of stuff that we can search and find. But for the average person, they don't have.
They have nothing.
So
they got to create their new content anyway.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, let's start with these 25 videos.
Right.
And then let's post half of them. And then let's keep the snowball going, look at what does well, and then make more of that.
Make more
and
of
keep
those.
doing that.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of but the repurposing to be they from a time standpoint, it's completely hands off for the client because they
Right.
don't have to do anything. But it's also we're a little more limited on what we can do. And I mean, there's probably a lot of people watching us that do this. They repurpose people if like at some point, like you're limited by, because one of the biggest things that, I mean, you're guilty of it because I see a lot of your edits.
Yeah.
You'll get on something that we're like viral potential, and then all of a sudden you just stop talking about it and move on to something else.
Yeah, because I'm not thinking from that perspective.
And we're like,
I need you to coach. I need you to coach me up.
like it's just not having an ending.
Yeah.
You just go on something that's like, oh shit, that's viral. And now he's talking about golf.
Well, dude, guys, I got a short attention span just like the rest of America. So, yeah, I need to. We'll talk after this. You guys will have to coach me up on how to continue doing that.
Yeah,
It's funny because you give me a lot of ideas, but I kind of don't use them. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of lazy. Like, it takes so much energy to just film these podcasts and YouTube. I'm like, just whatever you get, you get.
Well, it's also too. It's like, I mean, it's creative brain power. Whether you're just focusing on like 25, like we have some clients that we do like a 1 hour Zoom with once a month, and like I coach them, or Luis, somebody from my team, coaches them. Like we come with the topics, and they're on with Zoom, and then we're telling them basically, okay, you didn't say this. Can you expand on that? So that way we're getting all the pieces that we need to put the video together in a format that we know would significantly stand a chance to do better.
Right.
Like, and that's obviously that's a lot of people's time and effort. So that's more.
Right.
But it's a myriad of client. I mean, some people like they just don't want to think about it. Like we work with a credit company, and they already had they had 500,000 followers. They're like, yo, we just like the edits, and we know they're consistent, and they want to pay for the consistency because they started slacking on posts and they weren't making enough. So we're also like an accountability for some people that we know you're going to post, because that's like, the only reason we really don't post is if a video is going mega viral.
Yeah.
We don't want to post on top of it.
Right.
So, and that's a conspiracy in itself of whether or not that matters. But
I know.
From my experience, don't post on top of video going viral. So that's it. And it's like, it's a machine, and we don't like to turn the machine off. And some clients, it may take us 5 videos to figure out what you're going to blow up on, or it might take us 50, so like going back on what you were saying, from even people trying to approach TikTok, I know you have a higher level audience that kind of listens to your podcast and stuff. Like, it's not a platform you're going to come on, grow a big ass following, and then instantly make 100K from. Like,
Yeah.
It's like a coddling following. Like, you have to continually cultivate them and show them good stuff and provide value. And then in your case, all that following is going to bleed over onto the other platforms. So like knowing my demographic, most of all the most successful accounts that we run are already big YouTubers.
Yeah.
And they have an understanding, and I don't think it's necessarily they understand the work that's involved in the content.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, you and I were talking about this because before you got on, I was like, man, are we ready? Do we really want to do this? Do we want to have like all these copycats and all these things? And eventually we both just said, we're like, it's really hard to copy because nobody realizes the amount of work it needs. And you were like, think about you. You have us plus your own in-house team doing a bunch of stuff on top of that. And you're filming, you've got all these things you're doing in order for it to be successful.
And that's why, I truly believe like the good will prevail on that. Like, there's always going to be copycats. Like, I actually, Alex Hermosi, I know him.
Yeah.
He had a quote he had a saying. He was just like, just be so good that they can't beat you.
Right.
Like, something along that nature. And it's something, because I mean, obviously any editor that's got any type of talent can steal edits. Like, you can see, like, I look at people's edits and go, I'm stealing that. That's I want to meet that. But I come from the simple as I want to meet that editor. That's a really good, I want to know why he did that.
Right.
Like, I have an idea why he did that, but I want to know why. Like, so
That's how I found you.
yeah, so it's those things. I think that, I mean, we spend, and even if like we are, I do like what we call video benders. I started in my company, and it's basically for 3 days we batch a lot of it. And it's the only way we can get ahead, because of the volume that we're working. So we have to, so I tell them, hey, let's make these very clean, very simple. Don't go over the top on these edits, but we need to get ahead. So we always have that, those backup videos to post. And, but even then the time limit for a video is an hour, when they're doing their good video, and all of our videos are good.
Yeah.
But when they're I tell people, if you're spending, my editors, if you're spending over an hour, start looking at your efficiency and your workflow. We don't use, and this is another, just from the scale that we operate, we don't use the main editing softwares. I deter people from using Premiere Pro or Final Cut or DaVinci because they're bulky softwares. Not that they're not amazing. I taught myself Premiere Pro. I know how to edit in Premiere Pro, but I choose to edit in ScreenFlow, which is like an upgraded iMovie. And the only reason I do that is because it completely takes out any of the complicated stuff that the editing software will let you do, and it makes the edit come down to the topic of the video and then the flow of the video. Because that, no matter what emojis, no matter what, pictures or funny streamers and anything that we can add in to make this more engaging, at the end of the day, it's how does the video flow and does it make you feel like you're watching a video?
Right.
Because that's what we strive for, is that the video should feel effortless, and the video should, it's like I call it, you strap in on a roller coaster and you're not going to stop until you hit the wall. And the wall is when the video loops.
Right.
And you don't know when that's coming.
Right.
So that is a skill set that I've hired and fired a lot of editors in the last 6 months that not a lot of editors have. So I know how much I'm struggling to duplicate that in my own company. So if you're an editor out there, and I'll probably hire you, and it would take you to do this on your own.
Yeah, reach out to him if you're an editor. But yeah, and that's the same thing, right? It's like, dude, it's extremely hard to do, what you're doing, what I'm doing. So, if somebody can do it, they were going to probably succeed anyway. More power to them, right? Yeah. And I think, you brought up Alex. I'm definitely going to have him on the podcast soon. I had the pleasure of chatting with him the other day, and, really smart dude. But what do you think is going to be the future of all of this going forward? Do you see, speaking of copycats, YouTube doing YouTube shorts and reel, do you see TikTok kind of shifting away from gaining all this market share? What's going to happen?
This is like the question that keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we didn't talk too much about my backstory, but this was the one thing that I could say I have a home run thing, and I'm really tripling down on it to take it to the the stratosphere. But I don't think that TikTok is going to back down, because when I talk to clients, what TikTok does is they basically taken out all the mistakes that Instagram has made. They don't allow any third-party softwares to log into their platform. Everything is done. You have to it's two-factor verifications. It's very hard.
Right.
So that you don't get as many of the bot services and the auto posts and all that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, let's say that fucked up Instagram. And then you don't have the you can buy fake followers and you can buy comments and likes and fake views on TikTok, but they don't get you anywhere.
Right.
The content at the end of the day wins.
Right.
So as long as TikTok, the only downfall I see them making is the censorship, and I think that that's going to get stricter. But I think the internet's going to get more strict on censorship as a whole. But I think that you can't deny how it has shaped culture and how it has shaped what becomes popular. And you see that with music nowadays. People just make TikTok hits and then they make albums. It's completely shifted how we see and view content. So I think the bleed down effect of all the other platforms is going to be the videos are going to keep getting shorter. You're already seeing the biggest YouTubers that make shorter and shorter videos.
Right.
And I think a long-term, vision is everything will keep getting shorter, and then the stuff like this will be more on a back end and more for the creator, you see it with the Paul, Logan Paul and Jake Paul, or the Impulsive podcast. You see it with Rogan Clips. There's going to be really short, and then there's going to be really long. I think the middle will kind of dissipate, because you already see Instagram they just got rid of everything. It's now Reels or
I'm like, why? We had this conversation. I'm like, what is 30 to 60 seconds on Instagram? It doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It's you're either doing Reels now or you're you have IGTVs, But I think that the whole middle would be gone.
Well, now Facebook is like, all right, we're just Meta now. So like, we don't even care about these.
Because we all trust Zuckerberg to put us into AI, right?
That guy's he's the last guy I trust for sure.
Great platform, by the way, but I don't know if I trust you.
Well, hey, I can't hate on Mark. He's made me a lot of money with his platforms, but man, I would not trust the guy.
Yeah, it's like, that's an interesting, like that, if that goes to that route. But I just think, I mean, you can see it in the data's there if people want to look at it. Like all the Clips YouTube channels far outperform full podcasts.
Right.
So, and that just tells me that people like watching 3-minute videos.
Well, what do you think about, Instagram, right? Like one of the problems with them has been all the bots, like you said, and, all these guys paying for fake followers and the growth campaigns. And it's like, dude, anytime I get an entrepreneur that DMs me that I've never heard of and they got, hundreds of thousands of followers, I'm like, yeah, there's for sure like not real.
Yeah. I mean, that's so from a client standpoint, I have a lot of those people reach out to me to grow their TikToks and repurpose to their reels.
They're like, why can't I get all the followers tomorrow?
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's significantly harder to grow them because their following is less authentic than it is to grow somebody like yourself who has like, let's say 100,000 followers on YouTube.
Right.
Because that following will recognize you on TikTok, and that credibility, when you start getting the comments like of this guy's a scam, then you start seeing, well, he's got 150,000 followers on YouTube. Like, have you watched his YouTube videos? Like he's not, so I think that you're going to see a decline in that because people nobody trusts it. Like anybody with a brain doesn't, just because you're verified now doesn't mean shit.
No.
Because it's like everybody knows you can just pay the right person at Instagram to make that happen.
Right.
And, it's just a matter of how long until people shift their attention to real organic views, which is happening on TikTok and it is happening on Reels.
Right.
Like you can't fake those 8 million viewed videos on Reels. Like,
no.
That's just truly viral videos.
Right.
And with those viral videos drives followers. So,
right.
That's what when I talk to the people, like I just say, how much you paying for Instagram growth? Because I'm a lot cheaper.
And it's going to give you a better result.
Yeah. So it's, I just think it'll become less and less effective and brands don't trust it. Like there's sites, I forget, like is it Hype Auditor or Hype Audit? Like
there's a ton of them.
There's a ton of them that that rate your followers based on and brands are looking at that. They're not stupid. If like Chipotle wants to pay you, 100 G's for a campaign, they're going to look.
Yeah.
They want to know
they're going to do their due
they're
diligence.
Spending their money on. And I think we're going to see a shift in how creators get paid too. And that's one thing that like, cause for guys like you're like a lot of people, especially influencer brand deals, they're so stuck on, I'll do a video for like 5K.
Right.
Like, okay, well, that's great. What does the brand get out of that?
A lot.
Like, provided that video does well.
Right.
9 times out of 10, that video ain't going to do well. And the creators put like half-ass effort into that. So when I'm going to do brand deals, if and when I do them on my account, I'm going to be like, you don't pay me anything. But if I get you a 1 million view video, you're going to pay me 10 grand.
Right.
Or 20 grand or whatever I can negotiate. However high that
you're going all or nothing.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, and I'm not limited to how many videos I can make for you to get that 1 million.
Ah, okay.
And something reasonable. Like, let's say, like,
hey, I'm going to guarantee you 1 million views, however many videos it takes me.
Yep, up to like 30. Like,
right.
I don't want to post about your brand every day for more than a month. But I think from a creator and a brand standpoint, it's like, okay, now the creator has skin in the game, and now the brand doesn't have to pay you unless there's an actual tangible result. And what's gonna do good there is a good piece of content. So the content will show what. And then there's also like I think creators don't give themselves enough credit for like licensing and stuff. Like, because let's say I did that for Chipotle, and Chipotle's like, hey, we want to use that as an ad, and then they start pumping 10 grand a day into your face.
Oh, I've gone through that.
Yeah.
I made that mistake once, and I'm not even gonna call it a mistake, right? Because I want the brands to do good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you want to use this for 2 years, like no, like you're gonna pay me to make another one next month.
Yeah, and that I think creators that say because they may offer a number, and that's another thing too. Like most people, especially on TikTok. Like they're not used to making like lumps of money.
Right.
And I don't want to discredit anybody's financial situation because I sold my soul for a sock company when I was making YouTube videos for $5 grand. Like,
right.
Like, I mean, you need to pay your bills, but the, people on TikTok, their brands are getting away with like significantly cheap influencers because they're just saying yes to like $100 videos.
Right.
You pay $100 and you're a brand. Like the brand's like,
You can't
how many
lose.
people? We'll spend up to 10 grand on $100 videos. One of them sure to hit, and the brand wins every time. And you, the creator, you got lunch for like 2 weeks.
Right.
You know, like so it's. You know, you got. I think creators.
You got a couple of Chipotles. By the way, Chipotle needs to pay me if they want me to release this.
I love saying Chipotle. Chipotle and Hydro Flask. I don't know why it is.
That's funny, dude. Well, man, I just got to say, like, for anyone who is listening to this, like, there's so many nuggets you can take away from here. You know, we're going to link to your info down below so that, you know, if anyone wants to work with you, they can go ahead and do that. I mean, I'll say this. If you're looking for any help, okay, whether it's TikTok, whether it's real estate or something, like, my best advice is hire the expert. Like, you know, like people say that because they're like, oh, you're a guru, like you just want us to pay you. And I'm like, no, dude, like it's literally what I do. I'm like, oh, I need to get better at TikTok. Even though I'm already successful at TikTok, I had already built a good following. I was like, but you know what? I think this guy can help me because he's doing something that I'm not. And I'm just going to pay this guy. And it's been a great ROI, like really good.
Time I should raise my prices.
Yeah, it's about that time. And so, you know, you do that, and it's the same thing for me with real estate and anything else I do. It's like, dude, I just want to pay the top guy. And if I can pay the best guy, and obviously I got to be able to afford him and be able to see, you know, the ROI for what I'm about to pay for. But assuming I can see those things, I'm going to pay that guy 9 out of 10. Like, you know, when you told me your price, I was like, all right, there was no haggle. It wasn't, it's like, that sounds good. Like, let's roll.
And if you like this video, you're really gonna like this next one I did, so make sure you click here and go check it out.
I was so living this life that I thought would bring me happiness and quote unquote success, that living a life outside of my, outside of alignment to who I really am actually brought disease to me.